Let's get it. Rap Godzilla, eat these rappers for dinner. Rap Godzilla, eat these rappers for dinner. Yeah, guys, we're gonna continue where we left off from. The last time we stopped at King George III, right? Because we was like way into coming up to 3 hours. So I was like, yo, I might as well cut this here and continue it after. So now, after a quick recap of the House of Stuart and the House of Hanover, we're gonna go further and connect the Windsors, the House of Windsor, that infamous House of Windsor, or Saxe-Coburg Gulf. Yeah, we're gonna connect that into the picture, and then we're gonna explore a little about Charles III and what his agenda is. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Bear with me 1 minute. Yo, Wagwan, I'm on a live, bro. What's good?
You're wicked, brother. You enjoy your life, and call me when you're free.
I'll call you straight when I'm done, yeah?
Yeah, smash it up, bro.
Alright,
Nice one.
bless. Shout out to Sid. Now let's get it. I'm gonna play one more song because I'm not quite finished making my spliff, and then we're gonna go on with it. Yeah, we're gonna get into it. What song should I play? Right, I'm playing this because I just love it. Right, where was I? Yeah, so you see here, we're going to jump straight into it. Party staff bar, the affirmation. Anuki fi pa ashuk shil kulum wa kul ashuk kalun fi ni. Anuki farugun shil kulum wa kul kalun farugun shil ni. Anuki wahed ka kulum wa kul kalun wahed ka ni. Nuk aikilu anjihu kama farugun shil kulum wa kub kama faryudun. Nuk aikilu akwenu kuldek nuk akfuzi fi kulum kama taul kama kafuzi kanunlia amidu fi kulum. Anuki kabaha wa hud kulum kalun anuki. Kulum yakul nuk aikilu. Kulum dora nuk abmilu. Amun, an anthem for all. So what I said in the English, yeah, just for those who don't know, is, and I quote, the affirmation, I am in the love of all, and all love is in me. I am a part of all, and all is a part of me. I am one with all, and all is one with me. I can succeed as a part of all, and fail as an individual. I can be all that I wish in all, as long as my wish is to stay in all. I am never alone. All is, I am. All can, I can. All does, I do. The hidden one. Amen. Yeah, so let's go, guys. This on the screen one time, yeah, for you, is Charles the First. Remember we were speaking about Charles the First and how people were calling him the Black Bastard. Yeah, they were, because of his dark complexion, he was known as the Black Bastard. Now look at this stained glass. This is a stained glass depiction of him and his wife. Yeah, and I think it's from the 14th century. We'll find out on our next clip, but I want you to just pay close attention to him. This is the same Charles that, remember, King James was writing about the divine right of kings and how kings were born before men and before estates. So that means they should have an absolute rule. They shouldn't have to answer to no one. They can spend money how they want. This kingdom or their kingdom is like their fiefdom. You understand? It's their like estate. They can do what they want with it. So it came to a conflict with this guy because he was supposed to be quite arrogant, quite reckless. Kind of like how Henry VIII was going on when I told you about how he wanted to go on, how he weren't consulting none of his council or cabinet or nothing. These niggas just wanted to be absolute and do what the hell they wanted when they wanted to. Whether you see them as good or bad, we're all human. None of us is totally good or none of us is totally bad. So I'm not going to sit here and go on like, this guy's good or this guy's evil. Obviously, y'all can discern for yourself. But anyway, this is him with his wife. And he had other mistresses, as we learned, that he gave more attention to his mistresses than this wife. Whatever the reason it was for this wife, I guess we'd have to go back to them times in between the lines. But I just wanted you to envision him in your mind's eye before I go to this next one. And it tells us a bit about him. So let me pause this. Yeah. So this is from Unfiltered History on my TZT page on Instagram. And this says, this is a stained glass depiction of King Charles II. So it's actually King Charles II, yeah, the one that they call the Black Bastard. It's not King Charles I who got his head chopped off. This is the other one who was called the Black Bastard, yeah. I think he was brought in after Cromwell made himself like a king for however long, with that strict rule where England was kind of like, he never had a king for that time. Cromwell was running this shit as the king for himself. So after that period, when England realized, bastard, we need to have the king back. It's not going to hold. You understand? So they gave a number of conditions, which was to do with Catholicism. Like they told Charles II, listen, we're going to reinstitute the institution of kingship, of royalty, but these are the conditions. You can't be a Catholic. You can't marry a Catholic. None of your heirs who are Catholic are going to be heirs. All of that stuff we spoke about with the Reformation and all the acts they were passing and stuff to make sure that Catholics couldn't come back on the throne. So this is the second Charles, yeah? The Black Bastard. This is a stained glass depiction of King Charles II of England, Ireland and Scotland. 1660 to 1685, so he reigned 25 years, yeah? And his wife, Queen Catherine of Braganza, 1662 to 1685. Catherine of Braganza, Portuguese Roman Catholic wife of King Charles II of England, ruled from 1660 to 1685. a pawn in diplomatic dealings and anti-papal intrigue. So she was a pawn. She was married to Charles as a part of an important alliance between England and Portugal. The young queen had little personal charm, and despite her deep affection for Charles, he paid less attention to her than to his mistresses. When it became apparent that she would bear the king no children, opponents of his brother James, Duke of York, urged him to divorce her in the hope that Charles could then be induced to wed a Protestant. In 1678, they accused Catherine of scheming to poison the king and place his Roman Catholic brother James on the throne. And remember, these are from the House of Stuart. These are King James's children. And they're Scottish. In 1678, they accused Catherine of scheming to poison the king and place his Roman Catholic brother James on the throne. But Charles, who never doubted his wife's innocence, stood by her until she was cleared of the charges. Catherine helped convert Charles to the Roman Catholic Church shortly before he died in 1685. Catherine produced no heirs for the king, having suffered 3 miscarriages. Her husband kept many mistresses, most notably Barbara Palmer, first Duchess of Cleveland, whom Catherine was forced to accept as one of her ladies of the bedchamber. Wow. Hold on. So why ain't I gone to that other one? There's another one. Here we go. By his mistresses, Charles fathered many children which he acknowledged. One of them, George Fitzroy, Duke of Northumberland, was described as a tall black man, much like his father, King Charles II. Yeah, so that's one of Charles II's son, was described just like his father, a tall black man. Charles II was a tall black man, and so was his son. So was his son, Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond. George Fitzroy, Duke of Northumberland, was described as a tall black man. Another one of his sons, was Charles Lennox, Duke of Richmond, and he was described as a black complexion, much like his father. A third one, Charles, Duke of St. Albans, also birthed by one of his mistresses, was also described with a black complexion, like his father. Yeah, and that comes from, Unfiltered History, was it called? Unfiltered History 144 on Instagram. Fantastic page. They drop some real good jewels when it comes to the history of us all over, yeah? And as you can see here, this is a depiction of William Shakespeare and how they whitewashed it after and changed the complexion of it. You may have heard quite a lot that Shakespeare was also a Moor, okay? He wasn't this guy that is depicted in the encyclopedias or on Wikipedia. That's not him. This is more closer to how he looked, based on this is how they depicted him in that time, before people started trying to change up the images and stuff like we spoke about. And then obviously this is Socrates, yeah, the before and after. So you can see these Tamahu, these Muzungu, they went around the whole world trying to remove the image of the black deity, of the black God-man. Do you understand? And we are everywhere. We're not just in Africa. We're not just in America. We're not just in England. We're actually everywhere. We're native, indigenous to the planet, sons and daughters of the soil. Yeah, and then that's the depiction of Bastet. And like I said, this is Charles. It's either Charles I or Charles II. I can't really be sure at the moment because I've lost the little thread that I had that was telling. It's on my page. I just haven't had time to go and look at it on the TZT page. But I want to say that it's Charles I. Okay, so let's just say for the sake of it, this is Charles I, right? And without dwelling on the image. And I think this is either Edward Longshanks, who most of Americans' politicians and England's politicians trace back to this guy. And he was responsible for the Magna Carta, yeah, when we're dealing with common law and the Black's Law Dictionary and all that stuff. He was for the people. I'm sure he got killed by King Offa of Mercia. That's if it is King Edward III. If it's not John Longshanks, then it's King Edward III. Yeah, the one who got killed by King Offa. So it's either Edward the Confessor, Edward III, or it's King Longshanks, yeah? But pay attention to what he's sitting on. That looks like the same box that, Queen Elizabeth and all of them, they get coronated on this box that holds this special stone or tablet that's to do with the Israelites, and all the British kings have to be crowned sitting on top of that thing there. It's the same box that's depicted under him there. Apparently, I'm sure it was Rod Hayes who said the one that the Queen got coronated on was a fucking replica. It was fake, so her shit's null and void. But here you see it depicted with this fella, whether it's Edward the Confessor, Edward III, or King Longshanks, John Longshanks, yeah? We went past that already. So, okay, so they're done, yeah? So now a quick recap of the House of Stuart, yeah, before we go further. Remember the House of Stuart was to do with the House of Stuart is King James. King James the First of King James the First of England and the Sixth of Scotland. Yeah, and then here we seen what we just seen there. This is one of his sons. I'm sure this son here is James William the Third. It's either his son or his grandson, but these guys are the House of Stuart who came out of Scotland. These tall black men, yeah, that were being called black bastards and stuff, because by that time, being a Catholic and being a Scotsman, that was like being called a nigger today. Them words were the punch words for back then. Yeah, Scottish. Oh, you're a Scot. You're a black bastard. Yeah, you're a nigger. You get me? So this is the House of Stuart. I remember what we already broke down what the word Stuart means when we're taking it back to Old English and Gothic and stuff. Swart. Yeah. So I just wanted to recap you guys. This is what they did to his image. That's obviously how he really looked. Yeah. And this is what they do to his image to stop us from knowing that's an ancestor, whether he's good or bad. That's a menelated folk. He's a Moor. Yeah, so they really got heavy with this shit during the time of after King James, when the Stuarts took the throne. Because like I said, it was a religio race war, and the race war was us against us. So you got you got Moors against Moors, Red House against Blue House, or one side against one side. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, they try to fake his picture. This guy here is, remember we was talking about Prussia? I left out a whole bunch of slides out of that first one to do with Charles and Prussia. So I wanted to just touch a little bit more on Prussia as well before we go forward into the House of Windsor. So this guy's name Albrecht von Hohenzollern, and he's from 1490 to 1568. Yeah, and his other name is known as Albert of Prussia. Yeah, the first Duke of the Duchy of Prussia, the 37th Grand Master of the Teutonic Knights. So here you see he's a member of the secret societies. And also, he's not just a member, he's a 37th Grand Master of the Teutonic Knights. You can do a study of the Teutonic Knights yourself, yeah? It's kind of like the Knights Templars, but it's different, yeah? And I want you to just look at this guy, because this is how the people of Prussia looked. We're going to get a bit more deeper into Prussia anyway. This guy is Peter III of Russia, who died on 17 July 1762. I'm going to do a slide on the Tsars too, so I just stuck his picture in here. Anyway, he looks slightly lighter than the ones we see with them black Russians and stuff, but you could still see the Moorish influence in his genetics, in his facial structure and stuff, yeah? And obviously, what we were speaking about, how Germany wasn't just Germany of today. It was a whole bunch of fiefdoms and kingdoms united into the Roman Empire. And the main bulk of the Roman Empire was in Germany, what we call today, not in Italy. And also in the top northwest corner, you can see over the Kingdom of Poland is Prussians. Prussia, I'm sure today it's Austria there today. And also make note of Venice, which was built on the waters that we spoke about, because the Phoenicians, the Etruscans, they were merchants, they were seafaring. They were the merchants of the world, so they know about how to live on the water, okay? And I forgot this guy in the last slide, King Richard II of England, yeah, 1367 till 1400. Portrait in the collection of the Natural Portrait Gallery, London. Even he don't look like a white man, even though you can see they've lighted him out. Yeah, so it just looks abnormal. You can tell he ain't no regular white man, or he's not supposed to be, because that just looks weird how they've whited him out there. It makes the whole thing got this weird feel. But these Richard and them are linked to, remember we spoke about the Plantagenets, and they come from France. We said the line of Plantagenet kings, Richard I, Richard II, Richard III, the Lionheart and all that, who went to fight Saladin and that, them niggas come from France. Some of them spent more time in France than they did in England. They tried to sell London to raise money for the Crusades. I'm sure it was Richard III, Richard the Lionheart. And one of them Richards, to do with the the War of the Roses, which is still going on, by the way, in politics. That was based right around me, right here in Leicester. So you can find King Richard buried right here in Leicester. They dug the nigger up in a car park. Me and my friend Sid, the one who just called me at the start of this live, we had a job interview one time, and we was rushing to the, no, it weren't Sid, it was Mahesh. We was rushing to the interview because he was late. Pulled up in the car park. That's the same car park they found King Richard's body in. Now they got a whole shrine here in Leicester for him, where you can come and look at the nigger. And also, he was a bastard. He was a nasty piece of work. He killed his nephew and his niece so he could rule. You understand? And the people in Leicester, shout out to Leicester, Mercia. They stuck a broom up his ass and fucking pulled him around the city. Yeah, killed the cunt because he was a nasty piece of work. Okay? So this is his people, them Plantagenet kings. This is Richard II. We spoke about, we just mentioned him, Edward III of England, and how he established the Order of the Garter, and how Charles, the other day, I refused to call him King Charles III, Prince Ras Clark Charles, yeah? The same Prince Charles Ras, yeah? He, at his mum's funeral, was wearing his regalia for the Order of the Garter. You know what I'm saying? That probably the tradition at funerals or whatever, but this is where his Order of the Garter comes from. Charles didn't start that shit. He's took that from his forebears, and we're going to get into how they tied into the vine. So it is actually their ancestors as much as yours. Because Baba used to always tell us how these devils will tie into our vine, will tie into our DNA. We're going to speak into that one drop of blood stuff. And obviously this is a reminder of Henry VIII, how he was really depicted. Even though here, they're making him look white, but we know he's not white. They changed his colour, but they left his afro. But really, he's a little black boy, man. Do you understand? These pictures they're giving us, these are other niggas. They might say to their friend, yo, you pose as King fucking Henry VIII, yeah? We're going to need you in about 5-6 different paintings from about 3 different artists just to give it the sense of being credible. It's real. People are going to say, look, more than one artist drew this guy looking like this. This is how he looked. They are about this thing. They are the synagogue of Satan. It's about a deception thing. Both sides, the Sephardim, the black Jews, and the Ashkenazim fucking mercenaries. Yeah, so this was a closer portrait of Henry VIII when he was the prince. Obviously, this is Thomas Cromwell, who we spoke about, who was responsible for mashing up all of the images and the iconography and confiscating churches' property and burning down churches during the Reformation of Henry VIII. He was the brains behind England's parting from the Catholic Church. He was the instigator. He was the one whispering in the king's ear. Also, he met a violent death. The king ended up killing him. He set up a lot of people. I'm sure he set up the king's wife, Henry VIII's wife. If you go on Instagram, the history of the British royal family, my Instagram one, we go into all them details, even more details than that slide that we did. We start dropping down these details of how these kings were really living and shit, man. But I didn't have this like 6-7 pages of notes, so I just didn't use them for the slide. I thought, let me just start afresh. But if you want to go deeper, please do feel free to go on the Instagram, TZT_publishing group on Instagram, and scroll down through the IGTV and you'll find a video. You'll actually find 5 videos. It's a series. It's called Prison Planet Politics. One of them, Prison Planet Politics, deals with the real history of the British royal family before I came to start using slides and stuff. But in terms of what the content that I'm sharing, it's very, very powerful. It's powerfuler than the one I just did with the slides. I'm telling you, it's serious because it more goes into the conjure of Elizabeth I and John Dee and them looking for alien technology that was lost in each reset and back engineering it and shit like that. So this guy was very important, but then he had to beg for his life when the king was like, yo, you're a cunt, I'm going to kill you. And the king killed him. So he met a violent death. And remember we said, because I didn't put Oliver Cromwell in here. Oliver Cromwell is his cousin who comes later in the time of Charles I. So in the time of Henry VIII, you got Thomas Cromwell. And then later on, Thomas Cromwell's sister, she had children. And from his sister comes later Oliver Cromwell. That he's not direct lineage to this Thomas Cromwell. He's direct lineage to Thomas Cromwell's sister. You understand? And he's Oliver Cromwell. And between the two of them, they destroyed most of the iconography in the UK, 97%. yeah, and changed it to this white boy business in the 1400s. And obviously like this, that's not how she looked. You understand? These are black people. And these Moors, they're the ones changing their image. It's not just a case of white folk came and changed up everyone's image. They're directing these fucking mercenaries. They want to hide themselves. They came up with the word white. They was the first ones being called white. These Jews, because of the jewels they were wearing and stuff, and white was symbolic of purity. These people, they were pale, they're not white. Baba used to tell us that. White is pure. These people are not pure. Based on their history, based on their track record. It's not racism, it's facts. You understand? So that's not Queen Elizabeth. Although this artist, unknown artist, wants to portray this shit as Queen Elizabeth. That ain't no Queen Elizabeth, man. That's some white girl from down the road. And remember we spoke about Mary Queen of Scots. She is King James's mum. I think she's his mum. But check it out for yourself. This is King James. Is it his mum? I can't be sure, you know, but I think it might be his mum, and I think she's the one who got her head chopped off. Let me skip past there because this was just a recap. And this is the tomb of Bishop Edmund Stafford, 1344 to 1419 at Exeter Cathedral. It was built in 1400. The effigy was heavily vandalized with graffiti during the Civil War period. Yeah, Cromwell and them, 1642 to 1680. You can tell that's a black man. Look at his nose. You can tell that's a black man. You ain't got to even guess. That's definitely not a Mzungu. Not with beautiful lips and nose and full eyes like that. No chance. And I think this is his wife. This is statue of Dorothy Doddridge. Sounds like Dorothy Dandridge. Right, and look how she's laid there with the skull. Whose skull is that? Wife of Sir John Doddridge, 1555 to 1628. He was an English judge and member of Parliament. In the right hand is held her own skull. Oh shit. Which is that of a black woman based on a Nafism. Is that how you say it? You know, where the Africoid skull is different than the Caucasoid or the Mongoloid skull. Yeah, it's science. And remember we spoke about red bone and yellow bone, just to give you a recap. If you haven't watched that live, I probably sound like I'm chatting shit, and I advise you to go and watch it, because then what I'm saying will make a lot more sense. But yeah, now we get to King James, the infamous King James. And these are his two engravings. Yeah, I'm showing this one first. Surviving engravings that survived the period where everything was being destroyed. And they try and not speak about this, because it's not actually hidden, but it's not promoted. They don't speak about none of this shit, because obviously, it's obvious. So they just leave it. And because our people are so dumb, we don't really inquire. Like, we don't go to the archives and visit and inquire about none of this shit. We just sit down and do what we're told. So this is King James, yeah? 1603 to 1626. And he was the first King James of England, but the sixth King James of Scotland, okay? And now look, his other engraving looks similar. Not exactly the same. It's probably not even the exact same age, or he's not in the same mood either. But you can see that's the same person, that they're depicting the same person. It's not hard to tell. He looks a bit older here, like he's gone into a bit into old age or something at the end of his reign. And here he looks a bit younger. You understand what I'm saying? But that's King James. King James the First of England and the Sixth of Scotland by Hendrik Hondius, 1608, National Portrait Gallery. It's an engraving. That's in the fucking gallery. They can't take that down or nothing. That's him. This guy's a clown. You understand? And this was published even earlier than that one. Remember, I'm saying there's all kind of wars going on and propaganda wars going on in the UK over them time period there. But that's not him. That nigga looks like Merlin, like he's supposed to be on BBC One. And like, let's have a look at her, because I forgot hers too. This is Louise Marie Ferris, 1664 to 1732, daughter of the Queen of France. So she's princess. Yeah, daughter of the Queen of France, Maria Theresa of Spain. Yeah, she was a Benedictine nun in the Abbey of Moret-sur-Loing. She was called Maurice de Moret, and a portrait of her exists in the Bibliothèque Sainte-Geneviève in Paris. The research done by the Society of History in Paris, published in 1924, by Honorary Champion Editions concluded that this pastoral portrait was painted around 1680 by the same hand which painted a series of 22 pastoral portraits of kings of France from Louis the Ninth to Louis the 14th between 1681 to 1683 on the initiative of Father Claude du Molinet, 1620 to 1687, librarian of Saint Genevieve Abbey. No less than 6 memorialists have devoted paragraphs to her. She is mentioned in the memoirs of Madame de Maintenon, de Grandy, Mademoiselle, Madame de Montespan, Duke of Saint Simon, Voltaire, and Cardinal de Bois. So you could see who the real nobility was, not only in England, but all over Europe. These people look like us. You understand? This is how they depicted Queen Sophia Charlotte. We went through her. I don't think I went in depth to her because I started to get distracted in the end because I was waiting on my cousin and I was trying to like concentrate on 2 things at the same time. But look, they made her a white woman, as you would expect. Even here they've whited her out. She's not that white. And them children definitely don't look like that. They're trying to depict Michael Jackson's kids here. Do you get me? I'm not going to read that because we've been through her already, Queen Sophia Charlotte. But she was the wife of George. And she was also from Germany. I think she also was from the Hanover bloodline. Or she might have Stuart blood in her. Something like that anyway. If you go back to the live, it will tell you about that. I'm going to come back to this picture here. So, just a recap. The Kingdom of Hanover, German, Königreich Hanover, was established in October 1814 by the Congress of Vienna with the restoration of George III to his Hanoverian territories after the Napoleonic era. So what that says to me, like I said, they wiped out all these real Germans, yeah? So now they're giving this land to other people and renaming it and shit, because first it was called Saxony. Now they've changed it to Hanover, and it says, with the restoration of George III to his Hanoverian territories after the Napoleonic Wars. Remember I say they use these wars as excuses. Say it was Napoleon trying to conquer the world or Martin Luther going against the Roman Catholic Church. They use religion to cover the race business. It succeeded the former electorate of Brunswick-Luneburg, known informally as the Electorate of Hanover, and joined with 38 other sovereign states in the German Confederation in June 1815. So this is just 100 years before World War I. The kingdom was ruled by the House of Hanover, a younger branch of the House of Welf, in personal union with the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland until 1837, before being conquered by Prussia in 1866. Okay, so Prussia conquered Hanover, yeah, and transformed into a Prussian province. That's why they got beef with Prussia then. They must have been fighting back for their lands. Along with the rest of Prussia, Hanover became part of the German Empire upon the unification in January 1871. Briefly revived as the state of Hanover in 1946. Oh shit. The state was subsequently merged with some smaller states to form the current state of Lower Saxony in West Germany. Later Germany. Wow. George IV, we're past George III now, yeah? George IV, House of Hanover. George Augustus Frederick, 12th August 1762 to the 26th of June, that's Baba's birthday, 1830, was King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and also of Hanover from the death of his father George III on the 29th of January 1820 until his own death 10 years later. Is that all? From 1811 until his ascension, he served as Prince Regent during his father's relapse into mental illness. So when his father lost his mind a bit in the end of his reign, he was ruling alongside his father to shore it up a bit, yeah? He was the Prince Regent. George IV led an extravagant lifestyle and contributed to the fashions of the British Regency. He was a patron of new forms of leisure, style and taste. He commissioned John Nash to build a royal pavilion in Brighton and remodel Buckingham Palace, and Sir Geoffrey Wyatville to rebuild Windsor Castle. He was instrumental in the foundation of the National Gallery, London, and King's College, London. He had a poor relationship with both his father and his wife, Caroline of Brunswick, whom he even forbade to attend his coronation. Wow. He introduced the Unpopular Pains and Penalties Bill in a desperate, unsuccessful attempt to divorce his wife. Wow, I feel sorry for my man. Sounds terrible. She does. And so does he. For most of George's regency and reign, Lord Liverpool controlled the government as Prime Minister. You see, these kings, he ain't even controlling the government. He's just like a showpiece, or just like, what do they call it? Incompetent, yeah? George's governments, with little help from the king, presided over victory in the Napoleonic Wars. Yeah, so he didn't even help in the wars properly. What kind of kings are these? Negotiated the peace settlement and attempted to deal with the social and economic melee that followed. He had to accept George Canning as foreign minister and later prime minister and drop his opposition to Catholic emancipation. His charm and culture earned him the title the first gentleman of England, but his bad relations with his father and wife and his dissolute way of life earned him the contempt of the people and dimmed the prestige of the monarchy. Taxpayers were angry at his wasteful spending in time of war. He did not provide national leadership in time of crisis, nor a role model for his people. His ministers found his behavior selfish, unreliable, and irresponsible. That's the word I was looking for, irresponsible. At all times, he was much under the influence of favourites. Okay, so he wasn't a good ruler. And then you get William the Fourth, House of Hanover. William Henry, 21st of August 1765 to the 20th of June 1837, was the King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland of Hanover from 26th of June 1830 until his death. Dr. York's birthday is coming up a lot. William III, son of George III and younger brother and successor of George IV, was the last king and penultimate monarch of Britain's House of Hanover. He served in the Royal Navy in his youth and was both during his reign and afterwards nicknamed the Sailor King. He served in North America and the Caribbean, but saw little actual fighting. Since his two older brothers died without leaving legitimate issue, he inherited the throne when he was 64 years old. His reign saw several reforms. The Poor Law was updated, child labour restricted, slavery abolished in nearly all the British Empire, and the Reform Act 1832 refashioned the British electoral system. Though William did not engage in politics as much as his brother or his father, he was the last monarch to appoint a prime minister contrary to the will of Parliament. Through his brother, the Viceroy of Hanover, he granted that kingdom a short-lived liberal constitution. At his death, William had no surviving legitimate children, though he was survived by 8 of the 10 illegitimate children he had by the actress Dorothea Jordan. Was this the guy who abdicated? With the actress Dorothea Jordan, with whom he cohabited for 20 years. William was succeeded in the United Kingdom by his niece Victoria and in Hanover by his brother Ernest August I. Okay, so they got different rulers in England and Hanover now, instead of having one rule over both, it seems like. Right, Queen Victoria next year. Queen Victoria, House of Hanover, Alexandrina Victoria was her real name. 24th of May, 1819 to the 22nd of January, 1901, was the monarch of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland from the 20th of June, 1837 until her death. From the 1st of May, 1876, she used the additional title of Empress of India. Victoria was the daughter of Prince Edward, Duke of Kent and Strephern, the 4th son of King George III. Both the Duke of Kent and the King died in 1820, and Victoria was raised under close supervision by her German-born mother, Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld. She inherited the throne at the age of 18 after her father's 3 elder brothers died without surviving legitimate issue. The United Kingdom was already an established constitutional monarchy in which the sovereign held relatively few direct political powers. Privately, she attempted to influence government policy and ministerial appointments. So these kings don't really have much power right now. Their power's been taken away and curtailed by the parliament because of all the shit that happened since, well, let's say Henry VIII. Yeah, and here's Queen Victoria, yeah. Alexandrina, that's the name of my grandma on my father's side, rest in peace. Alexandrina Victoria, 24th May 1819 to the 22nd January 1901, was Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland from 20th of June 1837 until her death. From the 1st of May 1876, she adopted the additional title of Empress of India. So here you can see her in the top photo, Queen Victoria in 1840 photo, wearing a flowered bonnet and jacket. And then this is Queen, the bottom one is Queen Victoria, also in 1840. The one on the bottom looks a bit weird. Maybe the picture's just squashed or something. So there you go, Queen Victoria in 1840. You know what she looks like, what she reminds me of in this picture? Have you ever seen Dr. York's book where he shows, what's that guy, that politician's name, where his mum was like one of them, his mum was a midget with a beard. She reminds me of that picture there. What was this guy's name? John Kerry. John Kerry's mum. Google John Kerry's mum, yeah? She's one of them little like Bigfoot people. They're not tall. It's like a miniature Bigfoot. Mad thing. With hair all over the face, beard, mustache, the lot. Fuckery. So there she is again, Queen Victoria in 1840. So you can see that King George and Sophia Charlotte, some of their children must have really did look white like that. You get me? Because it's from King George and that Hanoverian bloodline where it shifted into these ton of white faces in the royal family. And remember what we said about the Hanoverian bloodline came through Elizabeth, who was the daughter of King James. So they are half Stuart bloodline. So the Hanoverian bloodline has in the Stuart bloodline, and the Stuart bloodline, I'm sure, has in the Tudor bloodline. So when we get to Charles and them, they've got all these bloodlines in them. Obviously, sometimes they claim bloodlines that's not in them. But their intention is to tie into all of these bloodlines for a reason. I'll give you the reason later. Right, now we're going to come back to these pictures. So I'm going to skip over these for now. It's to do with Prussia. But I want to speak about them on itself. I want to show the picture on itself. In fact, I'll go to the picture straight away and just read this. Princess Victoria of Prussia, Frederick Amalia Wilhelmine Victoria, 12 April 1866 till 13 November 1929. She was the second daughter of Frederick III, who was the German emperor, and his wife Victoria, Princess Royal, a daughter of Queen Victoria. To the public, she was always Princess Victoria, and in the family she was called Moretta or Young Vicky. Publicly, she became a national icon and was identified with strict standards of personal morality. Yeah, so these are agreeable. She was agreeable. She married her first cousin, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. So this is where the Windsors come in 1840. Their 9 children and 26 of their 34 grandchildren who survived childhood married into royal and noble families across the continent. Remember tying into the vine? Tying them together and earning her the nickname, the grandmother of Europe. After Albert's death in 1861, Victoria plunged into deep mourning and avoided public appearances. As a result of her seclusion, republicanism temporarily gained strength. But in the latter half of her reign, her popularity recovered. Her golden and diamond jubilees were times of public celebration. Her reign of 63 years and 7 months, which is longer than that of any other British monarch and the longest of any female monarch in history, is known as the Victorian era. It was a period of industrial, cultural, political, scientific and military change within the United Kingdom and was marked by a great expansion of the British Empire. She was the last British monarch of the House of Hanover. Her son and successor, Edward VII, belonged to the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. So did you hear that, guys? So she is the fucking portal or the transition into this GMO family that we're seeing today that's tied into the vine. And look what they're saying about her. 63 years, that's nearly as long as Ramesses II. He reigned 67 years. It's extremely long. I think Elizabeth II might have passed her now and be the longest reigning monarch, woman monarch in Britain and woman in general. But there you go, man. The record speaks for itself. Yeah, so before I go to this House of Saxe-Coburg, I want to show you the Princess of Prussia properly. Yeah, you see? So here it says, Queen Victoria and some family members outside the royal vacation residence at Balmoral, Scotland, 1884. The black woman is Princess Victoria of Prussia. I'm not going to say her other name. 1866 to 1929. She was the second daughter of Frederick III, German emperor, and his wife Victoria, Princess Royal, a daughter of Queen Victoria. The New York Times reported in 1929, Princess Victoria of Prussia died today at her residence in Bonn. She was 63 years old. She was destitute and entirely alone. The monarchy of Germany was created with a proclamation by the President of the North German Confederation and the King of Prussia, William I of Prussia, during the Franco-Prussian War in 1871. All these wars are to do with finishing off Tartaria, by the way, yeah? They're just giving these fancy names. It was abolished in 1918 following Germany's defeat in World War I. The Black Holy Roman Empire 1962, 1806 preceded. Okay, so before all this, the Roman Empire was black, like I was telling you, before this 30-year war in Germany from 1616 to 1649. Before that, it was a black Rome. Yeah, so I'm showing you Queen Victoria of Prussia. Yeah, here she is again, and this is outside the house at Balmoral Castle. Yeah, Queen Victoria with family, including Princess Victoria of Prussia. Yeah, so that's the English Queen Victoria, and the Queen Victoria of Prussia, it's got in brackets the dark one standing, 1884. Yeah, so I just wanted to show you that first before we go into the House of Saxe-Coburg. Okay, I should have fucking had that map, man, where it's got Germany all split up into the little things so you could see it a bit better, you know, but there you go. The House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. The House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha is a German dynasty, the senior line of the Saxon House of Wettin that ruled the Ernestine duchies, including the Duchy of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Founded by Ernest Anton, the 6th Duke of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld, it is also the royal house of several European monarchies, and branches currently reign in Belgium through the descendants of Leopold I, see portrait above. I was going to say, I think he might be black too, you know, Leopold, the same one that went in Africa and killed up all the people. And in the Commonwealth realms through the descendants of Prince Albert. Due to anti-German sentiment in the United Kingdom during World War I, George V of the United Kingdom changed the name of his branch from Saxe-Coburg, Gotha, to Windsor in 1917. So they changed their German name because by the time of World War I, there was a lot of German resentment going on. You understand? So to navigate around that resentment and to get the eye off them, because people knew they were German. Now, hold on, these are not English. These are Germans. The same happened in Belgium, where it was changed to Van Belgie, Dutch, or De Belgique, French. And it was this house of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha was founded in 1826. It was absolved or dissoluted in 1918. Its branches are the House of Windsor, the House of Corhari, the House of Braganza, Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. That Braganza was that same Charles II's wife, innit? What was her name? Catherine of Braganza, some place in Portugal. Edward VII, Albert Edward, 9th of November 1841 to the 6th of May 1910, was King of the United Kingdom and the British Dominions and Emperor of India from 22nd of January 1901 until his death in 1910. He was the first British monarch of the House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, Edward VII, right? Let's keep going. So here's King Edward VII. You can see, yeah, I can see a resemblance to King George in him, yeah? And that's why I'm talking about them taking the bloodline. These demons tie into the bloodline. And then they run rampant because they feel like they got the right. They feel like they got the privilege. They feel like they really are. This is my ancestors as much as it is black people's ancestors. I can do what I want. I got the permission. I got the divine right to rule. That type of shit. These are turning into Muzungu now. Look how far we've come from the start with King Athelstan. Yeah, in the 900s. And now look at this dude. This dude, certain people wouldn't even know he's got black in him. Or he comes from black ancestry. Like I say, they need this black blood every now and then, like you see with the Meghan Markle thing now. This is where they come from. Yo, this is going to get deep. Let's keep going, man. When Princess Elizabeth, as she then was, married, when Princess Elizabeth married Prince Philip of Greece, remember Prince Philip comes from Greece, and Denmark, the standard practice would be to adopt the name of his royal house. Because he was a prince. Prince Philip did not have a surname, but he was of the house of Schleswig, Holstein, Sonderburg, Glucksburg, a branch of the house of Oldenburg, and that ruled or rules as kings of Greece, Denmark, and Norway. Not wishing to repeat the difficulties of 3 decades previous, before his marriage, Prince Philip renounced his titles and adopted the surname Mountbatten, the literal translation of the German Battenberg that his maternal grandfather had adopted in 1917. The Mountbatten-Battenberg name refers to Battenberg, a small town in Hesse. Yeah, so you can see where these people are really coming from and tying that dirty blood into the real bloodlines of the jewels of God. You understand? There he is. And he's the same one that said when he dies, he wants to come back as a virus and plague humanity and shit. These are the kind of mentalities these people have, man. These demons. He actually said that. Google it. Don't believe me. On 9th April 1952, Queen Elizabeth II officially declared her will and pleasure that I and my children shall be styled and known as the House and the Family of Windsor, and that my descendants who marry and their descendants shall bear the name of Windsor. On the 8th of February 1960, the Queen confirmed that she and her children would continue to be known as the House and Family of Windsor. This is some Game of Thrones shit. As would any agnatic descendants who enjoy the style of Royal Highness and the title of Prince or Princess. Still, Elizabeth also decreed that her agnatic descendants who do not have that style and title would bear the surname Mountbatten Windsor. Any future monarch can change the dynastic name through a similar royal proclamation, as royal proclamations do not have statutory authority. At this time, we might remember how Tacitus described the albinos in his book. Deep in the recesses of this depigmented creature's mind, those ancient memories of squalor remain. Thus, his pathological need to control, to feel superior, in his short period of rule, less than 300 years, whereas blacks have ruled since the beginning of man, the only advancements the albinos have made are in technology, and these only came about as a result of research to find more lethal weapons, both biological germs and hardware. Always, his demented desire is to dominate or kill. Bloodlust. The albino is the only creature to have caused the extinction of other creatures of the earth. Since being loose from the Central Asian steppes, the Caucasus Mountains, the albino has caused the extinction of countless species, and if allowed to continue, it is calculated that he will cause the extinction of 1/2 of all species of life on earth within the next 100 years. As shocking and incredible as the European black genocide is, it pales in comparison to the genocide in the Americas, where we've seen our brothers and sisters estimated at 90 million blacks and Amerindians, who are also mostly blacks. They were the original settlers in the Americas too, and they perished between 1492 and 1650. If you as a black person do not know anything, even small little tidbits about Tasmania and what happened to the Tasmanians, you are severely lacking in your unlearning to relearn. This is part of our legacy, how they went and wiped out a whole people. Genocide at its finest. The British government, the British royal family, it's on Queen Elizabeth's hands. Blood on her hands. Her family, yeah, the royal family. As has happened everywhere that albinos have conquered and settled, death and destruction was brought to the native peoples, sometimes to the point of genocide. The last of the Tasmanians, William Lanny, died in 1869. Dr. Lodewick Crofer removed his head in the name of science at the Colonial Hospital, and made a tobacco pouch out of his ball bags. He made a tobacco pouch out of his scrotum. Who would want to put tobacco in a pouch that's made out of someone's ball skin? You gotta be sick in the head. This is how sick these demons were, man. And that's a conjure right there. That's not just something he fancied doing. That's a fucking conjure on the people. The Tasmanians are now extinct, by the way. And they used to make fun of them, and this is in Kenya, how they went, and I can't remember the name of this tribe, where they went and just cleaned out this tribe, man. The mulatto monarchs, or were they? How do we explain the fact that at the time of settlement of the Americas and the atrocities committed there, blacks and mulattoes were on the thrones of Britain, Germany and Spain, Moors, dirty Moors, Sephardim? We don't even try what sources are there that are not in the albinos' hands. By now, no one can doubt the depths of the albinos' depravity. So what is there to go on? Perhaps these monarchs were simply powerless. We are told that Charles V did voice misgivings. We of course would be remiss if we did not take note of the behaviour of North African mulattoes towards black during the recent Libyan war. Yeah, and there's a link for you that we can have a look at, but we'll skip over that here. There are, of course, many more and some too graphic to post. We have just recently come to find, through a portrait of the Inca kings, circa 1800, that Emperor Charles V was a full-blooded black man. I've got his picture posted on my Instagram as well. And not surprisingly, the common portraits of him are all albino fakes. Might this portrait of George III also be a whitenized albino fake, as is the statue of Charles V? So these are fake, yeah? Not even going to go into that. There are many portraits of common blacks still in existence in Europe. For those still not convinced of the degenerate lying nature of the albinos, we offer their explanation for these native European blacks. They're Africans. That's right, they all came on slave ships. Whenever a portrait of a European black is encountered, the explanation is always, it's an African. For even the dimmest reader would know that humans breed and congregate in extended family groups, tribes and larger groups. So upon seeing a few, the question would be, where are the rest? As we all know, the best way to hide something in plain sight is to call it something else. Thus, Russian General Gannibal is described as an African when he's a bloody Russian. He's not an African. He didn't come from Africa on a slave boat. Yeah, if he's African by genetics, not by being born in Africa or coming on no slave ship. The lesson learned in the previously detailed degenerate habits of the albinos need to be learned well, for the material following will test your cognitive abilities. As we have seen, the albinos use a trick, Jedi mind tricks, of declaring all blacks in Europe as recently expatriated Africans to explain their lingering vestiges. This same trick is used extensively in other settings. In the preceding material, great attention must be paid to it. In the preceding pages, we demonstrated that up to the late medieval Europe, and in this case Britain, was teeming with black nobility and commoners. Yet today, just a few hundred years later, there are zero native blacks in Britain. Here we present the 2001 census results for Britain, which basically says that all the black people here are from slaves or from somewhere else. There's no native Britons. How did that happen? From here on, British history is the companion to the German state's history, this same purge of black people. The albinos in those two countries, along with Holland, who are all related, Germany, British and Holland, white people are all the same white people, acted in concert. As a reminder, the British, Germans and Dutch are the same people, you see? As a reminder, the British, the Germans and the Dutch are the same Muzungu people. You will find that throughout modern history, they were responsible for almost all of the great atrocities committed by man. Be mindful also that the majority of the albino population of the United States is also made up of these people. So here, I take you back to the title I use for all of these people, which is Germanic. Yeah, even though we say that black people were the original people of Germany, we never called ourselves German. We ain't germs. You understand? That's their word, what they call theirself and they call the region after they established it as Germany. Yeah, so what I'm saying to you is all of them people, the white British, the white Dutch and the white Germans, yeah, we can call them Germanic, even up to Sweden and Denmark and Norway and stuff. Any of them white people there, that crop of white people, France, Belgium, England, all of that shit's Germanic. You understand what I'm saying? Throughout recorded history, black rulers have always used religion as the legitimizing agent for their rule, divine right to rule. The priesthood gracefully accepted their role in this symbiotic relationship because they benefited from the king's largesse. Thus, when Roman Emperor Constantine established the Catholic Church and Christianity as a state religion, he had no actual interest in Christianity as such. He was looking for a unifying agent for his empire and his rule. After the invading albinos sacked Rome and brought an end to the Western Empire in 467 AD, there followed a period 300 years where the albinos marauded unchecked all over Europe. So it was just lawlessness for the next 300 years after 470 6 AD. This is after the Council of Nicaea. All that shit's flopped. The Roman Empire's flopped, and people is just going through a fucking recession, like mentally. Yeah, they losing all the knowledge and the jewels that they had when there was a civilization called Rome. In 552, Italy was retaken from the Goths, the Germanics, these Germanic white folk, by Justinian I, Emperor of the Roman Empire, ruling from Constantinople. So like I said, the Byzantine Empire was Rome when it rose back up again under a religious sense. It's now rose back up in the east, the Byzantine Empire. So you got the Eastern Roman Empire and you got the Western Roman Empire in Germany. The Western Roman Empire had long since vanished in favour of the Gothic kings of Italy. After 554, there was peace in Italy and the appearance of restoration, except that the government now resided in Constantinople. Wow, so Italy's government was in Constantinople. Mad thing. Sound like Somalia. Pope Gregory I. Gregory had been born into a wealthy noble Roman family with close connections to the church. When he became pope in 590, among his first acts was writing a series of letters disavowing any ambition to the throne of Peter and praising the contemplative life of the monks. At that time, for various reasons, the Holy See had not exerted effective leadership in the West since the pontificate of Gelasius I. The episcopacy in Gaul, France, was drawn from the great territorial families and identified with them. The parochial horizon of Gregory's contemporary, Gregory of Tours, may be considered typical. In Visigothic Spain, the bishops had little contact with Rome. In Italy, the territories which had de facto fallen under administration of the papacy were beset by the violent Lombard dukes and the rivalry of the Jews, Ashkenazim, or Sephardim, or both, in the exarchate of Ravenna and in the south. Gregory is credited with re-energizing the church's missionary work among the barbarian peoples of northern Europe, the Mozungus. He is most famous for sending a mission, often called the Gregorian mission, under Augustine of Canterbury, prior of St. Andrews, where he had perhaps succeeded Gregory, to evangelize the pagan Anglo-Saxons of England. So you see, this war's already starting. The Pope and them are trying to make people Catholic, and other people are trying to make un-Catholic people. So it's a whole religio race war thing going on here. The mission was successful, and it was from England that missionaries later set out for the Netherlands and Germany. The preaching of the true Catholic faith and the elimination of all deviations from it was a key element in Gregory's worldview, and it constituted one of the major continuing policies of his pontificate. From the beginning of his reign in 768, Charles, king of the Franks, sought to drive the Albinos back into Eastern Europe. The Pope in Rome was also coming under great pressure from these bastard Mozungus. The Black Holy Roman Emperor, 800 AD. Is this Severus Septimus? Severus Septimus Maximus. I should have put his picture in here and something about him, you know. Fuck it, I'll do some shit on the Romans at some point. In 799, for the third time in half a century, a pope is in need of help from the Frankish king, French. After being physically attacked by his enemies in the streets of Rome, their stated intention is to blind him. They tried to blind him and cut out his tongue to make him incapable of office. Leo III makes his way through the Alps, This is a desperate journey, man. I'm traveling through mountains to find a nigga who can help me fight off these enemies, So he went to Charlemagne, who we spoke about. Remember we were speaking about Charlemagne of France and how he was the most mightiest leader in that time? And they made him the Roman Empire. It is not known what is agreed, but Charlemagne travels to Rome in 800 to support the Pope in a ceremony in St. Peter's on Christmas Day. Leo is due to anoint Charlemagne's son as his heir, but unexpectedly, Charlemagne didn't know. It is maintained, that's what it said anyway. He didn't know. As Charlemagne rises from prayer, the Pope places a crown on his head and acclaims him emperor. You understand? So they did him like that. Just dashed the crown on his head and made him emperor. Charlemagne expresses displeasure but accepts the honor. The displeasure is probably diplomatic, for the legal emperor is undoubtedly the one in Constantinople. Nevertheless, this launches the concept of the new Holy Roman Empire, which will play an important role throughout the Middle Ages. The Holy Roman Empire only becomes formally established in the next century, but it is implicit in the title adopted by Charlemagne in 800. Charles Most Serene Augustus, crowned by God, great and pacific emperor, governing the Roman Empire Upon Charlemagne's death, his son Otto became Holy Roman Empire. Oh shit! So this Otto geezer of Britain, he's Charlemagne's son. And look, these are black people, like I told you. These ain't no white people, man. You know? Wow. And is his wife named Edith? Hold on. Yes, my mind serves me right. Yeah? So, wow, I never knew that it was his son, man. That missed me the first time. So, for reasons unclear, the popes had moved their court to Avignon, France, circa 1300. It's not unclear. It's because of the pressure they're facing from these Muzungus, man. They got to move that shit. You get me? Circa 1300, where they once again came under the protection of the Frankish kings. But by 1376, the war between the Frankish king Charles V and the English had caused such upheaval that Pope Gregory XI decided to move back to Rome before he gets smoked, yeah? And so things remained. Black kings in Europe trying to fight off the albino invaders, but the albinos kept coming. The Mongols behind them kept them moving. Remember, they got kicked out of Tartaria. So here is showing these albino invaders, these Ashkenaz, they got kicked out of fucking Tartaria by the Mongols and the Russians, yeah? Like I was saying, the Eastern Roman Empire in Anatolia, Turkey, was also under pressure from the Germanics because they got kicked out of Tartaria. They're now pressuring in Turkey, yeah, and the Levant. Their Roman emperors like Manuel I sought peace by marrying albino princesses. So you know the geezer, the Byzantine in the first, the slide I did the other day, where he kept popping up like he want to be famous. So he's Manuel I, yeah, and he sought peace by marrying these albino princesses. Like I told you, that was their strategy in the Byzantine. At one point, they was like, fuck it, let's just marry some of these bitches. So it takes the pressure off. Maybe they'll stop fighting us if we just give them a piece of the pie and that. They went for that strategy. They didn't last very long. Let's just say, leave it there, yeah. What they did not realize was that the Mongols intended to completely empty Asia of albinos, dash them out of Tartaria. Thus, when the Turks, who had initially been brought to the west by the foolish Arabs who needed slave soldiers for their armies, or Mamelukes, began their mass movement west, these fucking albinos started moving more west, coming into Europe where we was. Europe wasn't empty or full of white people. Europe was full of us. That was our shit. Yeah? And so these albinos now start moving into our shit. The die was cast, yeah? Especially when Byzantine fell. There was nothing to stop them coming into Europe. There's a whole wave of these niggas. On the 2nd of April, 1453, Turkish Sultan Mehmed's army of some 80,000 Turks and large numbers of irregulars laid siege to Constantinople. Despite a desperate last-ditch, Constantinople is the capital of the Byzantine Roman Empire, right? So, despite a desperate last-ditch defense of the city by the massively outnumbered Christian forces, yeah, circa 7,000 men, 2,000 of whom were foreign, Constantinople finally fell to the Ottoman Turks after a 2-month siege on 29th of May 1453. The last Byzantine Empire, Constantine VI, Palaiologos, some Greek, was last seen casting off his imperial regalia, dashing his clothes off, and throwing himself into hand-to-hand combat after the walls of the city were taken. Yo, respect. At least my man rolled his sleeves up and said, come on, let's get stuck in. He's took off all his crown and his clothes. He's looking, you're going to have to kill this nigga, man. Yo, respect. With the fall of Constantinople and the Eastern Roman Empire, the West was now wide open to more albino invaders. By now, the albinos must have greatly outnumbered native Europeans. So us as black Europeans were now outnumbered. We're the minority. It was just a matter of time before the Holy Roman Empire, the heart of us, would fall. Okay? At this point, we must remember that history is written only by the victors. It's a bunch of lies agreed upon by the Muzungu or the Moors who want to change shit. In Germany, the Black Genocide event is the 30 Years' War. Remind you, I thought it was 1616. 1618 to 1648. This war is said to be about the Protestants' adherence of Martin Luther against the Catholic forces of Ferdinand II of Habsburg, Holy Roman Emperors. But blacks such as Duke Albert were supportive of the Protestants. Therefore, the albino explanation of religion as the cause of the wars can only be seen as just another albino lie, like I've been telling you guys. Remember, I ain't read none of these slides. I'm reading them with you. When the result is the eradication of one race by another, regardless of what name or cause you give it, it was a race war. What we can say is that at the end of those wars, by their own estimates, the population had been reduced by approximately 40%. That's like more than 1/3. Judging by the result, the overwhelming majority of them were black people, the ones that died. The survivors were sold into slavery like niggas in Ireland was shipped into Jamaica and St. Lucia and different islands. You understand? Grenada and whatever else. Please pay close attention to the date of the German genocide of blacks, 1618 to 1648, right? As was stated before, the British albinos have been the most resolute and successful in eradicating all vestiges of blacks in their country. Those artifacts that for one reason or another survive have been modified, called whitenizing or whitewashing. Taking Queen Charlotte as an example, we know that mulattoes don't have that colour. If she was a mulatto, we just don't know. They even make fake albino coins to substitute for black coins. Therefore, we make no claim as to the accuracy of the pictures that follow. We use them all that we've shown. We use them because they are all that we could find, and we have searched the world. We reason that since the albinos never make fakes depicting blacks, their efforts are always the reverse. Therefore, any artifact of a black must at least be partially authentic. That's a great point. They don't turn white people into black people. They turn black people into white people. Yeah? So anytime you see black royals depicted in real old art, that's probably a real picture. Because ain't no white people going to draw no slaves wearing no royal shit. It just don't make no sense. You understand? So, likewise, we make no claim as to the accuracy of the history below. It is straight off the shelf albino history. Yeah, conventional history is a lie. We have already established that they are liars where race is concerned, where everything is concerned. Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:9, John 8:44. Their father was a liar, the devil. But when they think that there is no danger of the race of the subjects being exposed, the tendency is to more or less honest reporting. At the same time, we must remember that they claim that the genocide events were religious conflicts. After reading the following, it would be clear that that is a lie. But what choice is there for using their material, since the material for almost all of our histories are in albino hands? They are patented information with the printing press. Our only recourse is to use their material, but use it critically, critical analysis and cross-referencing to find the truth. As the saying goes, you have a brain, use it. The history of Great Britain. The Romans invaded Britain in 43 AD. Yeah. Oh shit, that's the same time they invaded Kush with the Kendakes. It's like 40 AD when Queen Kendake Amoneris and Kendake Amonishiketo. One of them was 40 AD, one of them was 10 AD. Oh shit, interesting. Roman Britain was the part of the island of Great Britain from AD 43 until circa AD 410. Yeah. The Romans referred to the imperial province as Britannia. After the Romans left, Britain was invaded by Anglo-Saxons from Germany, black people. They must have been running from the fucking Muzungu too. A general term referring to the Germanic peoples who came to Britain during the 5th and 6th centuries includes Angles, Saxons, Frisi, and Jutes. They established Anglo-Saxon kingdoms in the 5th century like mine here, Leicester, Mercia, until the Norman conquest of England in 1066 at the Battle of Hastings by William the Conqueror, who was a Norman, yeah. Cerdic, from the early British name represented by modern Welsh Ceradog, was probably the first king of Anglo-Saxon Wessex from 519 to 534. Make note, Wessex is London. Cited by the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle as the founder of the Kingdom of Wessex and ancestor of all its subsequent queens. Cerdic, yeah, whose name's Caradog in Welsh. In 779, Cynwulf was defeated by Offa of Mercia. Yo, Offa's going on like a bad man. Him clean off Edward III. Now he's cleaned off Cynwulf. Yo, at the Battle of Bensington. And Offa then retook Berkshire and perhaps also London. Despite this defeat, there is no evidence to suggest Cynwulf subsequently became subject to Offa as his successor Beorhtric did. Okay, so Offa's going on like, yo, Ethelbert Also called Saint Ethelbert the King, died 20th of May 794 at Sutton Walls, Hertfordshire. He was king of East Anglia, just like next door to me, an Anglo-Saxon kingdom which today includes the English counties of Norfolk and Suffolk. Little is known of his reign, which may have begun in 779, according to later sources. Is known from, I think we've went through these already on the other live, so I'm not going to go through all of these, just the ones that are vital, and move on. Note, the figure quoted below by albinos themselves, 97% of all the iconography, meaning images, paintings, drawings, was destroyed. That means that almost all of the portraits that albinos show you of their white kings, queens, nobility, and other important people are fakes. Yeah, we're not going to go into that, but there's a piece here I need to read. And then there, I'll quote, and then there is his impact on his country's artistic and intellectual heritage. Yo, let me just get some silence for this. And then there is his impact on this country's artistic and intellectual heritage. No one can be sure of the exact figure, but it is estimated that the destruction started and legalized by Cromwell, Oliver Cromwell, amounted to 97% of the English art then in existence. Statues were hacked down, frescoes were smashed to bits, mosaics were pulverized, illuminated scripts were shredded, wooden carvings were burned, precious metalwork was melted down, shrines were reduced to rubble. The vandalism went way beyond a religious reform. It was a frenzy, obliterating the artistic patrimony of centuries of indigenous craftsmanship with an intensity of hatred for imagery and depicting the divine that has strong and resonant parallels today. So this racism of today isn't new, man. This shit goes, yo, this is deep. Yeah? All right, this is important. The English Reformation was the series of events in the 16th century England by which the Church of England broke away from the authority of the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church. These events were in part associated with the wider process of the European Protestant Reformation. So this was going on all over Europe, a religious and political movement which affected the practice of Christianity across most of Europe during this period. Modern albino historians treat the widespread death and destruction of these times and wars as the results of religious wars. They were in fact race wars for dominance in Europe. Edward VI, House of Tudor, 12 October 1537 to the 6th of July 1553, was King of England and Ireland from 28th of January 1547 until his death. He was crowned on the 20th of February at the age of 9. The son of Henry VIII and Jane Seymour, he died shortly after, didn't he? Edward was the third monarch of the Tudor dynasty and England's first monarch who was raised as a Protestant. During Edward's reign, the realm was governed by a regency council because he never reached maturity. Yeah, like I said, he died. The council was first led by his uncle Edward Seymour, 1st Duke of Somerset, 1547 to 1549, and then by John Dudley, 1st Earl of Warwick from 1551, Duke of Northumberland from 1550 to 1553. Edward's reign was marked by economic problems and social unrest that in 1549 erupted into riot and rebellion. An expensive war with Scotland, at first successful, ended with military withdrawal from there and Boulogne-sur-Mer in exchange for peace. The transformation of the Anglican Church into a recognizably Protestant body, so the Anglican Church changed into a Protestant thing, also occurred under Edward, who took great interest in religious matters. How much of these are they, man? Although Henry VIII had severed the link between the Church of England and Rome, he never permitted the renunciation of Catholic doctrine or ceremony. It was during Edward's reign that Protestantism was established for the first time in England, with reforms that included the abolition of clerical celibacy and the mass and the imposition of compulsory services in England. In English. Okay, so when Henry VIII broke from the Catholic Church, he was still like a Catholic. He was still practicing Catholic shit, just not under the Pope's terms. So he wasn't calling out Catholicism per se. He was calling out the Pope. His beef was with the Pope. But now we get to this Edward geezer, and we get to these later times. Now they really are calling out Catholicism and having a beef with it more than just the Pope. They got a beef with the whole fucking religion, the whole theology of it, yeah? The architect of these reforms was Thomas Cranmer, Archbishop of Canterbury, whose Book of Common Prayer has proved lasting. In February 1553, at age 15, Edward fell ill. When his sickness was discovered to be terminal, he and his council drew up a device for the succession, attempting to prevent the country being returned to Catholicism. Edward named his cousin, Lady Jane Grey, as his heir and excluded his half-sisters, Mary and Elizabeth. Mary I, House of Tudor, 18th of February 1516 to 17th of November 1558, was Queen Regent of England and Ireland from July 1553 until her death. She was the only surviving child born of the ill-fated marriage of Henry VIII and his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. We go through all these wives on the Instagram version of this live that I told you I did without slides. Her younger half-brother, Edward the Sixth, succeeded Henry in 1547. By 1553, Edward was mortally ill, and because of religious differences between them, he attempted to remove Mary from the line of succession. On his death, their cousin Lady Jane Grey was at first proclaimed queen. Mary assembled a force in East Anglia and successfully deposed Jane, who was ultimately beheaded. Okay, so it weren't Mary, Queen of Scots, who was beheaded. It was Lady Jane Grey who was beheaded. In 1554, Mary married Philip of Spain, and as a result, that's that same black Philip. I'm sure it's that Philip II geezer. And as a result, became Queen Consort of Habsburg, Spain, on his ascension in 1556. We've already gone through Elizabeth, so I'm not going to go back over her. Here's another good book to read, When We Ruled by Robin Walker. I did a presentation, live with a build with Robin Walker, but it never came out. And to be honest with you, he went on a bit like one of these fucking Moors and shit, man. But anyway, I'm going to still shout his book out and still recommend you guys go and have a look at this book. This book's in my family. I haven't read it myself yet, but I know that his work is meticulous. And also, it's got an introduction by the late, great Ranuko Rashidi, rest in peace, Justified Truer Voice. So therefore, I recommend that book to you guys. This is staple diet for all black households. I grew up with this book in my house. I've read it about 2-3 times. It's one of the greatest books on earth. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this by Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization, is a must-have. If you don't already have it, please try and grab that book. And I'm sure there's a follow-up as well that I ain't even read. I need to get that myself. And then The Wonderful Ethiopians of the Ancient Kushite Empire. I haven't found this book in hard form. I have the PDF. And this was one of the hardest hitting PDFs I read in a while when I first read it. And it's by a sister who gets slept on, whose name's kind of like forgotten, Drusilla Dunn-G. Houston. What she did with this book blew the lid open for me when I was climbing out of Islam. And I went back to it more recently just to have another read of it. It's a beautiful book. If you can find a hard copy, you're a G. If you can't, search for the PDF, because it's worth having. Even though it's just a PDF, it's still worth having and reading and digesting. And then J.A. Rogers, Sex and Race. You've got volume 1, 2 and 3. I've got one of the volumes here. I think it's this one, volume 3. But there's 2 more volumes. This is fundamental work when it comes to understanding race mixing, race, genetics, white people and white supremacy and how they tie into the vine and all of that shit. He's a heavyweight for doing this book here. I don't think there's another author that comes from this kind of angle, yeah, that J.A. Rogers has come from, okay? And then obviously, this is how these fuckers look today, this House of Windsor or the House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, where we've showed you comes out of the Hanover bloodline, which also comes out of the House of Stuart, which also comes out of the House of Tudor. So these motherfuckers have tied themselves into some very ancient blood, and even though they look like normal Muzungus, they carrying that fucking genetics, yeah. And I hope this bitch, yeah, rest in piss. That's what I feel about it. Yeah, look at her. This is upon her coronation. All that shit she stole from around the world. Look at them. That was her coronation, which was on BBC or whatever, way before our time, yeah. And then there's that fucking Mountbatten, that Greek Ras Prince Philip, her husband, yeah, who renounced all his titles and shit. Mountbatten said he wants to come back as a fucking virus to kill up fucking humans and depopulate the planet. And now we get into King Charles. King Charles, bro. Yeah, look at him in his the Order of the Garter Regalia, which we spoke about yesterday, yeah? Now, I want to say this is his ancestor, Vlad the Impaler, and he was the inspiration for Dracula. Bram Stoker in Hollywood created a movie, very popular still up to this day, based on legends about vampires, yeah, called Dracula. We're all familiar with Dracula. If you ain't familiar with Dracula, I can't help you. You must be living on a next planet, or in the next dimension or something, yeah? So if you ain't watched Dracula, I really can't fucking help you, man. You get me? But let's go into this Vlad geezer, man. Dracula, look at him. He looks like Charles. Charles looks like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally. You could, if you took the long hair off him and just, like, put them in the same clothes, you'll be able to see the resemblance. Right, let me light my spliff here, because I've been just doing this live without no weed. Right, an hour and a half. Let's try and get this done. Yeah, because, yo, them 3-hour things is long, man. So, this is based on the writings that were written about him by the Ottoman Turks. They pulled up and found him sat round a table with all his enemies, yeah, impaled on stakes around him, surrounding this table. And he sat at this table eating the brains out of one of their skulls and shit, eating human flesh and shit. He's a cannibal, he's a Dracula. So this is where Bram Stoker got his inspiration for the Hollywood flick. Okay, we're going to go a bit into this character, man, named Vlad. So as you can see, this is how they depict him through history. This is a real historical character in the 1500s in Romania. And they got a movie out with him now where they try and like sensationalize and romanticize the thing. It's called Dracula Untold. If you haven't watched it, have a watch of that movie. Because although Hollywood try and make it into a love story and justify why he's Dracula, you can filter out all of that shit there and just go off the jewels that they're giving you. Do you get me? Dracula Untold. Again, I'm glad I put this picture in George III. So this is where the House of Windsor, Charles and all of them, they tied into this vine. This vine tied into the House of Stuart. The House of Stuart tied into fucking the Tudors. So Charles and them are carrying all this blood. They're carrying Moorish ancestry. This is the son of King James. I think it was James William or something. One of his sons, man. The one that ran off to France or whatever. And this is how they tried to white him out, to hide it from us. We went over that briefly too. We've seen this guy already. We've seen him already. Okay, we're done here. Fantastic. Now we can go on to Vlad. David Icke. Interesting, because there's a lot of things that have been said about David Icke. Some people feel he's a reptilian himself. Some people who feel he's a reptilian feel he's a good reptilian. Some people who feel he's a reptilian feel he's got an agenda, that he's just hiding his real agenda, and it's kind of like a planted opposition. Yeah? My own take on David Icke, being a native Leicester lad too, I really don't think he's evil. I think he's real with what he's saying, and for how long he's been saying the shit that he's saying, nothing's changed in what he's saying. Do you understand? So I can't really see any evidence to suggest that this man is a part of the reptilian agenda. There's all kind of excuses people use about his video glitched out or whatever. I don't believe none of that shit there, and I go off my own conclusions, yeah? I more lean towards, in the Holy Tablets, it tells you about the ex-leader of the reptilians, whose name's Hatton, who now works with the Elohim Diner, our side. He works with the Galactic Federation, and he works against his own reptilians. So David Icke is the only man on earth that fits that description for me, and that can make sense that he fits perfectly into that role. So for me, until proven otherwise, he's fucking Hatton. That's his avatar. You understand? Or he's working with them man there. I don't think he's down with Ashtar Command. I don't think he's part of the Galactic Republic. I don't think he's working for reptilians. None of that. I've been reading David Icke also since 15. And my mum put me onto David Icke. She was the one who had the biggest secret. That was the first book I read for him. After that, there's been birthdays my mum's had where I was like, yo, what can I buy her? Where I've bought her a David Icke book because I was low on money. So I was like, yo, let me buy this Alice in Wonderland. Mum will appreciate that. So I came up on Icke, and I'm not going to sensationalize just because I might want to think he's a fucking lizard or what. I don't believe the shit. I mean, evil. He may be a fucking reptilian. But just because he's a reptilian doesn't make him evil for me. So I salute David Icke for what he's done, and the amount of stick and the ridicule and stuff he's got since he came out on that Terry Wogan show. Now people feel stupid, because I remember like 10 years ago you couldn't even mention David Icke to white people. Most people that followed Ike was Asian people, Native American people, black people, people who could resonate with his message, who could relate to what he was saying. Most of his people who he came to, white people, they thought he was crazy. A lot of them still think he's crazy because they're not vibrating high enough. But he don't just talk about reptilians. He talks about a whole bunch of other shit, man, that ties a lot of shit together. Yeah, and he was the first man to start speaking about reptilians in the form of Lucian shit too. And so what they do now, they try and tie the whole reptilian thing to David Icke, to say that he came up with the whole fucking conspiracy theory of reptilians. That's bullshit. Anyone can do a quick run through ancient history and see there's reptilians being depicted all over this motherfucker. Human reptilian, ancient reptilian gods that is eating flesh, and they want sacrifices. And there's others that are good, like the Nagas of the Indus Valley and stuff. So this reptilian stuff is not no new modern world conspiracy like mainstream media keep pushing. They know it's not, but they keep pushing it out there because they know most people, they won't check. They'll just hear that on TV and say, oh yeah, David Icke made that up. They've never even fucking checked. Let's move on. These are in the wrong order, but these are just some of the traits that reptilians have. You know what? I'm just going to leave it out because we already know enough about their traits and stuff. So I'm not going to read none of that stuff. It's just going to continue to drag the thing on. This is a book written about them. Ancient Serpent Gods is based on one of the most amazing, outstanding theories. It's not a theory I've ever heard. That's George Norrie, host of Coast to Coast AM. I fuck with Coast to Coast. I listen to them from time to time. But it's definitely not a theory. And the book's called Ancient Serpent Gods. Keyword ancient. David Icke never made this shit up because David Icke ain't ancient. The alien connection to reptilian dinosaurs. And what's interesting here is that picture that they're showing on the front of the book. That picture's in the Holy Tablets. And when Dr. York's using it, he's using it to tell us, to educate us about Homo saurians, a group of reptilians who evoluted alongside Homo sapiens right here on the planet Earth. These are not Dracos that come from Draco. They don't have tails, they don't have horns on their head, none of that shit. They're like humans, but instead of going down the mammalian path, they went down the reptilian path. They kind of stay away from society. Some of them look normal like humans now because of the mixings and stuff. Some of them still live in Hollow Earth. But he must not be aware of that, so he's just using it like it's just a fucking dragonian, like it's a alpha draconian dragon. It's not. That's a Homo saurian on there. And they used to use tools and shit too, and speak and that. And they developed the capacity to be spacefaring. They got flying saucers and shit too. And we know who this B is. Yeah. I hope you are fucking in that grave. I hope you turn, let me just stop you. Car. And then like I said, on this YouTube, I've got a live called The Reptilians Dissected. You might have came across it. It's a very well received, one of my better received lives. But that bust open the topic of reptilians, and I say all that to remind you, there's over 600 different species of reptilians, man. So this one here looked like fucking Voldemort out of Harry Potter. Some of them look more humanoid, some of them look more reptilian, some of them got horns, some of them got fucking wings on and shit, man. Some of them look short like gargoyles or Maldekian troglodytes. So you understand? Some are spliced with greys or human or whatever. There's so many different species of them, and not all of them are evil. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them don't give a shit. They're not good or bad. It's, what is it? You know what I'm saying? So I just put that in there to show you the kind of like diversity in their family when you're talking about reptilians. Also, we already know there's Vulcans. There's ones that look like us, black people, with the Willow's Peak haircut and shit, man, and the unibrow and the fucking pointy chin and pointy ears and stuff. The Vulcans made by Mother Hubbard, like Tarnush, and I'm sure I showed them in the other live. Tarnush and his son Halal. And Tarnush raped an Anunnaki called Myleta to bring forth that being. So that being's a real unpredictable personality, yeah? Halal, or who you want to call Satan or Lucifer, is real. It's not a joke thing. And this is why a good question for religious people is, yo, how come all these gods in the religions are different, but the devil's the same in every religion? Like, the devil in Christianity ain't different from the devil in Islam or the devil in Judaism. It's just the fucking devil, Satan. So if Satan stays the same in all these fucking religions, how come God's changing from Yahweh to Allah to Jehovah to fucking Yahuwah Mazda to Jesus to Buddha to even humans like Selassie? Because it's all bullshit and it's based on these reptilians. And Satan controls religion. That's why his shit, he's the main character, not God. God changes. Satan ain't never fucking changed. These are the Satans. He come from these motherfuckers. Ones that look like me and you, but they have this reptilian genetics. And this is one of the reptilian statues that was found in southern Iraq. And it's linked to the Ubaid culture. The Ubaid culture is the culture they say preceded the Sumerians. So it's like, it's not a civilization, it's a culture. Before it bloomed into Sumeria, that was the height just before they reached civilization. So in that Ubaid culture in Iraq that preceded Sumeria, the civilization, they be finding all these fucking statues that look like lizards. That ain't no fucking human suckling the baby. So this is the same pose that you see Marian suckling her child Jesus, or you see Isis suckling her child Horus, or you see Ishtar suckling her child Tammuz. You understand what I'm saying? There's another depiction of it, a bit better one. Yeah, it's a mad thing. That's a reptilian, man. Got clothes on and shit now. Got hairstyle and shit. And these people, when you study Sumeria and they tell you about the Sumerians, you're always going to see this picture first. They want you to believe that this is the Sumerians. This is how they fucking look. That's not the Sumerians. You know who these are? These are the avatars that the reptilians created for themselves. Yeah? And others, like, because the reptilians created avatars for themselves, for them to experience the earth differently than just the reptilian form. So these avatars today, we call them Pleiadians. We call them the Nordics, the Pleiadians. They are not Sumerians. The Sumerians depicted themselves totally different than this bunch. But the Tamahu's smart, the Muzungu. So every time they deal with the subject of Sumeria, they push these images to the forefront to make you feel like these are the Sumerians. These guys are not Sumerians, bro. These guys are the fucking avatars. They made them for themselves. Look them here. They keep showing these guys. They made them for themselves. Yeah, and this is a depiction of King Gilgamesh. I don't know if it's authentic or not, you understand, but this is how they depicted him. Because you know they make a lot of these fake as well, to make them look more like white people, yeah? Especially the ones they push into the forefront and keep showing you. So this to me looked like it might be a fake, a real exquisite fake. And I think this is supposed to be Enki, but here you can see the lamb business. When they say the lamb of Jesus is the lamb, the sacrifice and all that shit. You can see that depicted in Sumeria and Kemet. They took that from us. Right, I wanted to go through a bit of these scriptures just to show you that all of these scriptures you can get jewels out of them, yeah? And to go into the topic of the Antichrist and link it back to Charles. The 4 books of the New Testament that fueled Christian belief in the Antichrist were the first 2 epistles of John, the Revelation to John, the book of Revelation, and the second letter of Paul to the Thessalonians. I hate them fucking Roman words. The first 3 of these were written near the end of the 1st century CE, Christian era. The last was written either by St. Paul, he ain't no fucking saint, he's a cunt, yeah? Shortly after 50 CE, or by one of Paul's immediate disciples some 20 or 30 years later. Neither the 2nd Thessalonians nor Revelation uses the term Antichrist, but both works refer to a coming persecutor who is evidently the same person. The first epistle of John introduces an important distinction between the Antichrist who will come and the many who will... Shit, it didn't even go to the next page. Come and the many who will... Well, Antichrist is both one person and a system, yeah? The Christian conception of the Antichrist was derived from Jewish traditions, particularly the book of Daniel in the Hebrew Bible. This links into this Jewish Messiah today and shows you, yeah. Written about 167 BCE, it foretold the coming of a final persecutor who would speak great words of blasphemy against the Most High Anu and wear out the saints, us, of the Most High for all these lockdowns and fuckery that's going on in the earth, and think to change times, see, and laws, the new Biden act, this new legislation, this here, the Corona bill, yeah. Scholars agree that the author of Daniel was alluding to the contemporary Hellenistic ruler of Palestine, Antiochus IV Epiphanes, I don't believe that, who attempted to extirpate Judaism. But because Antiochus was not named, later readers could apply the prediction in Daniel to any persecutor. Yeah, so early Christians just started using that title to anyone. I've heard this before. Other people say they was talking about Nero and shit. But I don't believe none of that, because my master teachers already told me it's about the fucking Antichrist. Here's a depiction of the Antichrist beguiling, I don't know if he's supposed to, the devil beguiling Jesus, or that Jesus figure is the Antichrist or whatever. Pictures say 1,000 words, so you can make your own discernment of this picture, but it's depicting the Antichrist. I can't remember when it was painted. Okay, so now this Vlad the Impaler, Charles's fucking family. In Romanian, Dracul means dragon. I'm a dragon slayer, that's why I stay on these topics. As the ruler of Wallachia, now part of Romania, the southern part of Romania, Vlad Tepes became notorious for the brutal tactics he employed against his enemies. My man was merciless, including torture, mutilation, and mass murder. Though he didn't shy away from disembowelment, he would rip out your guts and stuff, man. Decapitation, boiling, skinning his victims alive. His preferred method was impalement, man. He'd impale you on one of them spikes, sit down and eat dinner. Or driving a wooden stake through their bodies and leaving them to die of exposure. You see where they get all this Dracula ships from, wooden stakes and all of this. During his campaign against Ottoman invaders in 1462, he's fighting them Muslim niggas. Vlad reportedly had as many as 20,000 victims impaled on the banks of the Danube, the river Danube. Captured by Hungarian forces and imprisoned, he was finally able to regain his seat because he had more than one reign. He's like, he reigned and then he got took off the throne and then he came back to power. I'm sure it was 3 times. This guy was a demon. Look at him. So Bram Stoker in Hollywood, he based this Dracula shit off this legend of this real Dracula. This is a real historical person. Bram Stoker published his movie in Hollywood in 1897. Yeah, Dracula launched an entire genre. Sorry, that's the novel that was published in 1897. Yeah, a gothic novel. Yeah, Dracula launched an entire genre of literature and film about vampires. Like, this shit blew up into all the legends of the vampires, because them legends are based on real shit. These are the sons of the dragons, or the sons of the Alpha Draconian, the serpents. Bela Lugosi and Francis Dade in Dracula, yeah? So this must be the first Dracula that came out in 1931. Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula and Francis Dade as Lucy Weston, called Lucy Westenra in Bram Stoker's novel, in the film Dracula, 1931. And there's Bram Stoker for you, who's born 1890, yeah? So he knew some shit that other people didn't know. Bram Stoker by name, his birth name was Abraham Stoker, yeah? Born November the 8th, 1847, Clontarf County, Dublin, Ireland, so he's an Irishman. Died April the 20th, 1912 in London, so he died before World War One, yeah? Irish writer best known as the author of the Gothic horror tale Dracula, 1897. So I didn't even know he wrote the book. I thought he was just a movie maker. That moves us to this fucking modern day Dracula right here, who many people are saying is the son of Adolf Hitler. That's why he keeps using this Nazi symbolism like this swastika and shit. And he's so similar to what Hitler was saying when Hitler was up and coming in his time to bring in this third Reich, or the third rule. And now you see this guy saying the 4th Industrial Revolution. Really, he's just saying the 4th Reich, because we speak about this 4th Reich that's running America and world governments and your European Union. We speak about this in Coronation and COVID 1984. So this is the guy. He's the face of it. I would say King Charles is higher than him. Yeah, but he's the face of it. He's the poster boy. And look, this is how he depicts himself to the world, yeah? He just looks like a normal, what do they call him, philanthropist or entrepreneur or brain guy, yeah? And then behind closed doors, they go right back to the Babylonian Brotherhood, to the priests of Baal who wear black and come with the red sash and shit. Look how proud this guy is. He's proud that he's got this picture as the head honcho of Satan's army. Look, the guy's fucking, they don't show you this version of him. Yeah, nigga look like he came straight out of fucking V or Star Trek or something. Yeah, fucking hell, Childhood's End or some shit like that. But that's how they really look when the camera's off, man. And they doing all these conjurings and rituals to bring in the fucking Antichrist, to crown him as the king of the world. Yeah, he's Charles's right-hand man. He's the scapegoat for it, the poster boy. Look at him. Look at these symbols on there. I don't even know what that shield, what symbol it is, what it says on there. My eyes are shit. Yeah, but look, you know that symbolism's going back some. That's some ancient shit. Look at his clothes, man. No, yo, this is what I'm saying about this whole shit, man. And nobody's really paying attention. When I say nobody, I'm not talking about all y'all out there who tune into these lives and all y'all out there who do a great job of posting and contributing to the growth of the collective consciousness. I'm generalizing outside of us here in this discussion, you know. So look, the Fourth Industrial Revolution 2017 by Claude Schwab. World-renowned economist Claude Schwab, founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, explains that we have an opportunity to shape the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which will fundamentally alter how we live and work. Yes, Schwab argues that this revolution is different in scale, scope and complexity from any that have come before. So fuck that reset in the 1800s. What they're looking to do here now, they're trying to tell you this is 10 times worse, mate. Yeah, characterized by a range of new technologies, AI, quantum computers, smart grid, are fusing the physical, digital and biological worlds with this meta shit. The developments are affecting all disciplines, all economies. Yo. He wrote 3 books. I'm supposed to have 3 of them on here, but I'm sure there's only one. But there's other ones. There's one called, the latest one is the Fourth Industrial Revolution, I think. But here's one, Overcoming Indifference, 10 Key Challenges in Today's Changing World. So this nigga's been on it since 1994. Yeah? I ain't even going to read the small print of that. Yeah. Look at this guy. This guy feels like he's on top of the world, man. So I think this is, hold on. This is the Muslims' take on the Antichrist, or this king of the world, who they use the word Dajjal, which means the one-eyed king or the great liar. And they take it from Christians just like Christians take it from Jews. So all of them are really saying similar kind of things, but it's just kind of like Chinese whispers at this point when we get to the Islam thing. And so it says here, when we presented ourselves before him in the evening, he read our confused inner condition and asked, "This is Muhammad. What is the matter with you?" Yeah, some people have come to him with looking disturbed. "What did you conclude from what I had said?" We submitted. "You talked about Dajjal in the morning. Of things you said about him, some seem to belittle the matter of his emergence, while you also said other things which seem to highlight his matter to proportions of a great trial, to the extent that we thought he was present, close to us, in the groves of the date palms. Then he said," this is Muhammad said, "Not just the Dajjal, there are other trials I fear may afflict you. That is, the trial of Dajjal is not as great as you have taken it to be. If he appears, and I am among you, I shall confront him personally without you. And if he appears, and I am not among you, everyone will try and confront him in terms of his courage. And Allah is in my absence. And Allah is, in my absence, the guardian and protector of all Muslims. You will recognize him as a young man." So the Dajjal will be a young man. He won't be old, this fucking Messiah. Yeah, just like that Jewish guy going around now, they're saying he's the youngest fucking this and the youngest that. See, he's fucking adding up. Hold on. He will have hard curly hair, whatever that means, hard. Yeah, one eye protruding upwards, so he's got cock eye. blinding the other, as in other narratives. And if I can liken him in this ugly profile with someone, it is Abd al-Uzza ibn Katan. So they're saying he's an ugly cunt. Yeah, and one of his eyes is cockeyed. How real that is, we don't know. It could be just Muslim conjecture, just putting their own spin on the thing. And it could be true, because as we've seen, the one that they're saying now is the Jewish Messiah. He's supposed to be the youngest fucking rabbi or whatever, can understand the Torah better than anybody else. This is what they're saying. And he's going around doing miracles and stuff. I've showed a little video already with him on the, I think it was Escape from the Chicken Farm or one of them. So I'm not going to pull that back out. Plus it had some sound issues with it. I'm not going to go no more through what the Muslims say about him. You can do a study of that for yourself if you really want to know what the Muslims say about him. It's basically exactly the same what the Christians say. They're just adding in a bit more of the Arabian Nights type shit in there. Yeah, and I want to say that all of this stuff with the British royal family, by now you should understand they still run America. America didn't win no civil war for no independence with no constitution or none of that shit there. What happened is these dirty Moors took America the fuck over, and they officially launched it in 1619. By 1619, the job was fucking done. Do you understand? Because it was begun in 1492, if you want to take it there. And even earlier, there was conquistadors going to America trying to scope out the land and the people and the resources and all of that shit there. Lewis and Clark expedition was just a culmination of it when they felt like, okay, it's done. Let's like wrap this shit up, you know? But it's a reptilian agenda. And Washington, D.C. is just an extended branch of these motherfuckers that are running from the London Stock Exchange and from the Vatican. You get me? Right. Now we're getting somewhere. So this guy, Tyson DeGrasse, yeah, all these people I flick to you now, to me, these are the black devils today that are hiding in certain positions where they want you to feel they're just a normal person. It's a normal person. They're not from no bloodline or nothing, secret societies or nothing. These are just black people who luckily made it to the highest echelons in society, like top scientists in the world, head of this, head of that. So we're going to go through them and you're going to recognize some of these faces. Some of them already did their job and served their time. Some of them are still in fucking positions of power doing things now. And even the ones who have did their office and served their times, they still in the background doing different shit right now, pulling different strings. So let's go. This is that Neil Tyson DeGrasse, who apparently is supposed to be the head scientist of NASA in the whole fucking world. Yeah? Not no Muzungu, a fucking black devil. Like I tell you guys, these niggas been hiding themselves and think that we won't recognize who they are. But look at his complexion. He looks like one of these fucking Moors. Yeah, that started mixing himself down and shit. Look, he could pass as a Phoenician too. You understand? Who's next? Look at him here. This looks like some Mason thing. When you see him with the bow tie and these suits and shit, this is how they really are behind closed doors in their Masonic shrines and shit. When they come in front of the camera to you, you want to look like this. Like you feel, oh, he's just sat in his science lab all day, normal geezer, diamond geezer, when he's lying through his teeth. Yeah? And now he's come out, after all the lies, he's actually coming out and admitting they ain't never left the fucking earth. They flew up from the surface, maybe the distance of New York to Florida. That's how far up in the sky the fucking space station is. From New York to Florida, driving distance, is the distance from this ground up to the space station, meaning the space station's not in space. Space don't exist. Consciousness exists, the Eva. Yeah, and we all floating in the sea of Eva, or the sea of consciousness. But he knows, because he's been telling people, yo, we never went to the moon. Yeah, it not in so much words, but he's implying, bastard, he's trying to get it across. We ain't never been to no moon. Maybe he's been told to tell people this shit here. Yeah, to kind of dampen the blow. It's like they're going to reveal it at some point. I don't know. But this is what he's saying. I've got this shit on my page on Instagram. Yeah. And this looks like it could have been his dad or his brother. I literally thought that was another picture of him. This ain't my man, you know. This is that Tedros guy, the leader of the WHO. This is the guy that's been locking us down for the whole of 2020 and for fucking most part of 2021. Oh, you have to go and lock down. This much people are dead. Whatever he says, the world has to do it. If he says, yo, we've declared a pandemic, this new thing that they're talking about now, what's it called, Steph A or whatever, if he comes on telly tomorrow and says, bastard, this shit's a pandemic, it's peak. It's lockdown. These are the black devils. These are the dirty Moors that was running around Europe fucking changing up everything and going around the world and colonizing niggas. And now they sit at the head of the table. Nigga, he don't want to be no king. Fuck a king. That's a boring job. Nigga, I'm going to be the head of the medical institution. I'm going to fuck people up from here. Yo, this is nice, cushy. They don't want that seat, the king or the prime minister or the fucking... They want these jobs here where you'll never think, bastard, yo, my man's a black devil, you know. These are the fucking black devils. They're the dirty Moors. They're right here among us. Look at this. You know who this is? Condoleezza Rice, yeah? George Bush's bit. George Bush was getting head off this thing. He was hinting that in the office. Look at the state of this thing. Yeah? You don't even have to hint that this is a lizard. Yo, get her out of here, man. And look, this is what's going on in the world, but most of us humans are so off. We so gone with this shit, Dan. We can't even understand what the fuck is going on in our world. That's what's going on, man. They forcing the hand of these robots, clones, drones, you know? Many mysteries have been unraveled by the power of chemistry and computers as civilization has developed, but there are still unknown things on the earth. Reptilians are also known as unknown beings with many mysteries, and some people seem to have various imaginations. It's not imagination, yeah? That's mad, because this picture's in my book, COVID 1984, yeah, when we're speaking about these niggas, yeah? This is how your UN really looks if you put them fucking shades on like Roddy Piper in They Live. There is a theory that reptilians can control the autonomic nervous system, and it is said that they can suppress emotions and sensations. These are especially difficult for humans, and I feel that reptilians are envious. Yeah? So, reptilians, you know, like the eel does, it can put you in a trance, so you're just frozen. Put you in a trance so you can't move or nothing, you're just paralyzed with fear, and then they can just rape your thoughts. They can go through your thoughts like a file cabinet and learn everything about you. This is what he's trying to say here. A reptilian who is good at drawing out negative emotions, so he is also good at starting conflicts, shit stirrers. However, in regards to this characteristic, people who are constantly fighting somewhere on a daily basis may be better at it. I don't know who John Rust is, but I thought this was an interesting picture when I was doing my research, so I just snapped it up. Reptilians seem to be characterized by a masculine appearance, and it seems that there is no female type. However, there are genius illustrators in Japan who can transmigrate all races. So if you search all over the internet, you may be able to meet a lovely female reptilian. I know a couple of them on fucking Instagram. Yo, and I got this dude's picture in COVID 1980. One of the books, anyway. His picture's definitely in there. Because I feel like he a real dude. Like someone drew a real fucking reptilian there. And for the amount of times I've seen this image, yeah, that nigga's for real. And look at his sinister, sadistic, you know, these Satanist Luciferians, they're very sadistic. And what we're in the midst of here is a Luciferian conspiracy. Yeah, we've already been through David I. Right, we're getting there. Bastard, 2 hours, let me wrap this up, yeah. This is the image of the beast of Dr. York from the Holy Tablets. I'm going to quickly flash through some Holy Tablet stuff. I don't know how many of you know about the Tetragrammaton. Yeah, but the Tetragrammaton is like basically the name Yahuwah. Most people say it as Yahweh or Jehovah, but it's really Yahuwah. Yeah, if we go back to the real ancient Aramaic and pronounce the name of the Most High correctly. Because remember, these Israelites, they weren't even privileged and blessed enough to know the name of the Most High. That's why they was given this Tetragrammaton, because it's not his name, it's a title. The title Hashem. You see what I'm saying? Hashem was the title that was used in the form of this Tetragrammaton, in the form of Yahuwah, yeah? And the Israelites called upon that title, yeah? He who is who he is. That's what it means. So when he says Yahuwah, Iya, Yahuwah, it means I am who I am. But Yahuwah itself means he who is who he is. That was changed into Jehovah by English-speaking people, yeah? Which is a mispronunciation. They butchered the name of the Most High. And some people use the title Yahweh, which only means good, Yah, and Weh, evil. So that's not really a good title either. But the modern Hebrew letters, this is using modern Hebrew, yeah? The modern Hebrew letters Yahweh make the image of a man. For if man is in the image of Yahweh, then Yahweh is in the image of man. Just like I said in that Bible God live that I was doing with you guys on the last Saturday Night Live. Yo, I can't believe it's Saturday tomorrow. That's crazy. I'm not going to go through these holy tablets with you. I'll just pinch a few bits where I see them. This is going through all the letters, like the Yod. In conclusion, Yod is 10 and stands for the remnant of the 613 commandments. Only 10 of these were used by the Israelites. H is 3 principles in the creation: the creator, man, and the devil. Yahweh is referred to as the tetragrammaton. Tetragrammaton is a Greek word composed of tetra, meaning 4, and gamma, meaning letter, and has been variously transliterated as Jah-vah, Yahweh, Yahweh, or Yahweh, Yahweh, Jehovah. It is the European pronunciation of the Creator, to be found 6,823 times in the Hebrew Scriptures. The name Jehovah should not be mistaken for the correct name of the Creator, Yahuwah. When spelled Yahweh with the modern Hebrew script, borrowed from the Phoenicians, creates the symbol of a man. Om is one of the most exalted sounds in the universe, and when hearing this, Al-Kanas, or the devil, the whisperer, responding to the meaning of his name, withdraws. So include it in all of your prayers, the sacred Om sound. The most precious names of Anu, Elyoin, Elyoinel are adjacent to the existence of human beings and their life. All of the names and all aspects of life can be seen clearly through the 99 principles. Yeah, and you can go through your own study of the 99 principles just for us to save time, yeah? Tablet 15, the Dajjal, yeah? Lo, in the latter days he shall appear in the flesh, yeah? His companion, the sign of the concealers of truth, only to the eyes of the purified ones, and his mark be in your right hand or between your forehead to rest clear. Yeah, and I'm sure you can find the same, albeit a bit a mistranslation of it in Revelation 13 verse 6, or 13 verse 14 to verse 18 to cover it all. Yeah, right, this is just too much reading. Yeah, hold on. It was called Project Blue Rock, infested by the Ashtar Command, the intergalactic legion of this side sector 3 placement 7 from N Circle. Yo, this holy tablets is so deep. Yeah, bro, I've had my holy tablets for 25 years, and looking at it now, there's stuff I don't even remember seeing. And it's mad because I've read this book from cover to cover about 3 or 4 times, yeah, throughout my life. And I ain't read it for about 10 years. Like a proper sit down, let me read this shit from cover to cover again. Maybe even 15 years. So it's that time for me again where I'm just going to lock off at some point and go back into my tablets. And mine's an early edition, so it's not even the updated one. I had to like figure out the typos myself and connect dots myself, because like I said, I came from Islam. I didn't have no one around me to talk about this with. I had to do all this inside my own head. Maybe that's why I am the way I am. Yeah, because it was only when I came back to England at 20, when I was like, yo, introduced to the Holy Tabernacle Ministries. I never knew they had a whole ministries and a shop and all this, different books and none of that. When I came, I was fresh. I thought I was the only man in the world that probably might have this book. I don't know what it is. I just know that I got to be the keeper of it. You understand? It's crazy, man, if I tell you the story of me and this holy tablets. It's just, I can't make this shit up. Let me speak to you of the 7 folds in your earthly form. You may be regarded as physical bodies that having a sister part under nature's same laws. See you deep into this knowledge, for it comes to you from my own self to help guide you to a better understanding of the 7-fold you. The 7-fold you is discipline, faith, sacrifice, firmness, patience, forgiveness, and peace. Each star has its own light, spiritual self, life self, spiritual man, 7 galactical heavens within each of you there be, and the best is the brightest seed of all. The Master placed it there that you may keep it pure. Before we, the 4 wise scientists, Ninti Enki Nagal and his wife Arishkigal, bred you, the children of the Anunnaki, were initially bred to be what is called Lulu Amelu, primitive worker. We worked on breeding the genus Homo, who were the Taites or descendants of Ta, the father of Nekeba, Eve. that. Oh, I'm not going to read these no more. I was just giving you a bit of stuff. Anyway, let's go on. So, as I said, these guys, they tie into the vine. You see, this was the kind of iconography that they replaced all our great black artistic stuff, native stuff with. These dirty Moors was coming over here shagging these things, these Mzungu women, man, and creating this fucking hybrid bourgeois race that kind of like supplanted the real nobility, man. And then after they supplanted the real nobility with this paled out version, the paled out version continued to pale themselves out even more by doing this. As you can see here, this was widespread, man. Look, another one, orgies and shit. This is Christmas. This is how they's getting down at Christmas and shit, man. Look at this nigga. They were the original pimps. Young Elder will show you. These were the original pimps, these dirty Moors. They were pimping these women. It was a status thing. How many white women you got? I'm selling these bitches. Y'all think this is a joke thing. Remember I said I was going to come back to that picture. Now look at this. Dido Elizabeth Belly Lindsay, great niece of Lord Mansfield, and her white cousin. So we're talking about the coloured girl, Lady Elizabeth Murray, circa 1779, by unknown artist, Zofani perhaps. So that's her. More people, more time, if you've seen this picture and they said, oh, this is royalty, you would think the other way around. Most of us would think this white girl is the princess or the royalty, and the black girl is not, but it's the other fucking way around. Do you understand what was going on here in these times in fucking Britain and Europe and stuff? Yo. And here's Marcus Garvey. These are the good side of the Moors, who was dropping jewels for us and waking us the fuck back up and making us aware that we were fighting our own self, not just the fucking Mzungu. As mad as it sounds, if you study their work, especially Noble Drew Ali, to me, in my opinion, underneath the master teacher, these are two of the greatest men that ever walked the fucking modern earth. Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple. So when you hear us talk all this stuff about Moors, don't confuse it with dissing the Moorish Science Temple, the real Moorish Science Temple. I mean, there's probably some clowns in there too, but I'm talking about the real students and spiritual inheritors of the Moorish Science Temple. These are our people, and these know what they're talking about, and it goes back to Noble Drew Ali, Timothy Drew, and Marcus Messiah Garvey. We've already went through the Princess of Russia, so I'm nearly at the end, yeah? This is the conclusion, then I'll run two things and we get off. I wanted to show you here that all of these things quoted in the Holy Tablet, all of these scriptures have got jewels in them. You understand what I'm saying? Every one of them have got jewels in them. So here, when you go through the Bible, you got Micah, Nephum, Zephaniah, Habakkuk, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, yeah? And then you got the Sufahat, the pages of Adam, Zachar, yeah? The pages of Nekeba, or Eve, the prophetess during Adam's time, yeah? The tablets of Sin, Nana Sin, the tablets of Seth, tablets of 50, the tablets of Time, the tablets of Adapha, the tablets of Enoch, and the tablets of Generations, which was given to Abraham, yeah? And that tablets of Generations is 100 pages, and the 19 scrolls of wisdom given to the prophet Lumin, who was a Midianite prophet, more like where the Arabians are, the original black Arabians. And then obviously the Torah, or Al-Turat, the law. Genesis, 50 books, Exodus, 40 books, Numbers, 27 books, Deuteronomy, 36 books. And then you get what's called the Nabim, or the books of the prophets, the scrolls of the prophets, which is books like Joshua, Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, yeah? And they total 20 books. Then you get the Ketubim, the holy writings, which is the Psalms, the Proverbs, Job, Song of Solomon, Ruth, Lamentations, Ecclesiastics, Esther, Daniel, Ezra, Nehemiah, 1 Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, 13 books in total. Then obviously the New Testament, which is the faker books of the black devil trying to mislead Joshua's true followers. And these fake books are Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, James, Judah. They total 6 books, yeah. Also, you got Romans, Corinthians 1 and 2, Galacticus, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, Thessalonians 1 and 2, Timothy, First Book of Timothy, Titus, Philomene, Hebrews, Peter 1, Peter 2, 17 books. The letters of John, just letters to a girlfriend. They're not holy scriptures. That's 1st John, 2nd John, 3rd John, a whole bunch of bullshit. Then you got the Apocrypha, the hidden books of the Bible. They're real. The 3rd book of Esdras, the 4th book of Esdras, the book of Tobit, the book of Judith, the book of Esther, the book of Wisdom, Solomon, the wisdom of Jesus, the son of Sirach, the book of Baruch, yeah, the edition of Daniel's, the prayer of Manasseh, the 1st book of the Maccabees, the 2nd book of the Maccabees, 3rd and 4th book of the Maccabees. And then you got other apocryphal writings that left out the Bible's Old Testament. And that's the book of Jubilees or Little Genesis, the book of Enoch, the Assumption of Moses, the Ascension of Isaiah, the Apocalypse of Baruch, the Sibling Oracles, the Psalter of Solomon, the Urantia book. I've heard about this Urantia book, you know. I need to look into that because I don't know shit about that, but that name jumped out at me. Yo, the Urantia book. Okay. The Testament of the 12 Patriarchs. Then obviously you got Al-Injil, which is the Evangel or Revelation. You got the Quran, yeah, which is the reading. You got the Al-Ratib, the unshakable facts that came to Muhammad Ahmad Al-Hadi Al-Mahdi in the Sudan, 1845 to 1885 AD, recently, yeah, who's family to Dr. York. And it was a book about spiritual upliftment. And his real name is Asaid, meaning the noble. Isa al-Hadi al-Mahdi, which is Dr. York's great-great-granddad. Mary, the sister of Moses, was a prophetess. Deborah, the wife of Lipidoth. I've got these pictures, I'll show you in a minute. She was a judge of the Israelites. Hilda, a prophetess, wife of Shulom, son of Tikwa. She was an authoritative figure in Israel. Ebba, son of Shilah and Hudith, with Amran, son of Kihaf. Ishmael, father of the real Muslims, the real Arabs, called in tones Ishmael, son of Abraham and Hagar, with the well. Jethro, son of Lumim. Oh shit, I didn't even know he was the son of Lumim. And Adiba, with daughter from Moshe. Yo, I never knew that he was that. Give me 1 minute. I'm nearly finished, guys, yeah? Not going to dwell too much longer. Promise you, yeah? I'm not saying that I'm going to go on for an hour. I'm really nearly done, yeah? Anyway, let's skip past these. So here's Hilda, the prophetess. I wanted my sisters to see themselves in this talk, because a lot of time when we're talking, we talk around males and we talk around masculinity and stuff. I mentioned these female prophets in another live, and I posed the question as why is there not more female prophets to ask the Muslims and ask the Christians and shit like that. So today, because I came across some of these pictures, I thought I'm going to put them in my presentation, just because, not that they have anything to do with what we're talking about, but just because I wanted to put out some powerful images of the sisters when they was in their strength. See, they was being more than just beautiful. They weren't about taking selfies and just seeing how nice their hair can look today and shit. What you're looking at right here is a fucking shaman, is a prophetess, is a goddess, is a divine woman in Nubian skin, and we need our sisters to go back there. It can't just be the multitude of brothers on the front line. Shout out to the Phoenix, because she out there doing her thing, and there's a couple others who actually come out and teach. See, a lot of women they're happy to just sit in the background. They don't really want to read the scrolls like certain people wrote, like Dr. Malachi York. He wrote a book called Great Women of History. If you read that book and see all the great women that have done great things in history, man, sometimes the focus is too much on the men. So I wanted to put Hilda, a prophetess and wife of Shalom, on there. Who's next? Is it Deborah? Hannah. So Hannah is the wife of Zachariah, yeah? So this is the mother of John the Baptist, or Yahya, yeah? And so she was also from the same family as Mary. So that's why John and the real Yeshua was cousins, you understand? Because they come in from the same family of, in the Quran it's called the family of Imran, And it says that Allah chose this family. Remember, we were speaking in the Bible, does God favor people and favoritism and stuff. But anyway, she's from the family of Imran, the same family Mary's from. She's the mother of John the Baptist, his father being Zachariah. Yeah, and Jesus is his cousin, if just to use the word Jesus. Yeah, the temple as a body, we were speaking about how really this is just a battle of consciousness, the archon, the demiurge consciousness that fell out of favor and disconnected from the source, and source energy. So there's only two sides in this war. There's no black, white, Muslim, Jew, Christian, male, female, all of that shit's bogus. There's just the source, yeah, and all their consciousness centers that are connected to source, yeah, even if they don't know they're connected to source. And there's a type of consciousness that is severed, disconnected from source. So because they're disconnected from source, they can't create anything, or all they can do is fuck around with God's creation, what's already here. They don't have no connection to source. Us humans still have our connection. The seat of the Most High is in our temple. The temple is the body, not the church, not the masjid, not the Gurdwara, Hindu, Sikh, or whatever temple. Your body is the temple. All of the ancient temples were constructed, designed off your body. Like if you go to the Temple of Luxor and go and look for the series Magical Egypt with John Anthony West, yeah, and look for the documentary they got, the episode called Temple of Man. It's hard to find, but it's possible to find it, and especially clips of it. And it shows you how much information they had about the human body that was written into the temple walls, man. Even the way the feet are in this picture and stuff, it's exactly this. This is exactly what was going on. Let me see if I can read it for you. Temple as a body, searching for a connection in the world outside ourselves and beyond. We have used the human body to understand the pattern of creation from the beginning of time. Architecture has always been an intermediary for expression or connection to the cosmos. Matching the mystery of our own bodies to the mysteries of the universe helps us better understand both, or so to the microcosm in the macrocosm, yeah? And also, it's produced a new field today, what they call archaeoastronomy. We explain it in Treasures in the Sand, how now they use astronomy and astrology in their fucking archaeological work, and to work shit out. It helps them. It's a key. Remember before, experts used to turn their nose up anytime you suggested stuff like that. They'll be like, oh, that's some superstitious shit. They never built it for that. They just built it for agriculture. But now they're more willing to use this fucking archaeoastronomy because it's shown up a whole bunch of flaws in conventional Egyptology and shit. Yeah? And here in the middle it says East meets West. This Indian temple plan show how many ancient Hindu sites translated the human body into architecture to create a symbolic representation of the cosmos. Body as a temple. This diagram, this is on the right. This diagram is an extension of the temple plan on the left. The numbers on the body correlate to those of the different sections of the building plan. The correspondences are similar to Eastern chakras, but instead of energy centers, the parts of the temple relate to parts of the body that sense or are similar to the function of temple objects they refer to. See what I'm saying? So in the head, that's at the back of the table. Like where the head is, table. Where the head is, that's at the back of the temple, where the brain is, yeah? So that would be called the Holy of Holies, when you go into the Holy of Holies. But where the feet are, that's where you enter the temple. And then you'll go up through the temple. And like in Luxor, the Temple of Man, which was built by Amenhotep III, 1390 to 1352 BC, around that time. Yeah, he was the 9th ruler of the 18th dynasty. Yeah, he built up this temple of Luxor and did the colonnade of ram-headed sphinx and shit like that. Yeah, you would have to spend 40 years in this temple learning all you needed to learn about the human body before you even came out qualified. 40 years. And this is where religions like Islam and stuff and Christianity, Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness being tested by the devil. Prophet Muhammad was 40 years old when he started out on his mission of prophethood in the cave. All that 40 they take from us, where for our ancestors, 40 was our prime, not 18 as a teenager. Us men came to prime at 40. Do you understand that? Anyway, let me go on because I went off topic there. And here, I wanted to speak about Ninurta. Yeah, Nanasin too. I should have put his picture in here too. But Ninurta is the son of Enlil. See, we speak about Enlil a lot. Young Elder just did a fantastic build on Enlil, what I've not even finished, called the Indictment of Enlil, where the 24 elders are indicting this nigga, man. And he's telling you how Enlil is on some gay shit. It's like, you know, the preacher's kids. He made a brilliant comparison. He says, yo, the preacher's kids are the baddest kids, yeah? So this is how you have to see Enki and Enlil too. When they came to Earth, yo, they was going on like, we're the sons of the Most High. We can do what the fuck we want. Kind of like this absolute monarch stuff. We don't have to ask nobody about nothing. But also, Enlil's sons were doing much damage too. Like Ninurta let go the nuclear weapon in 2024 BC over Sodom and Gomorrah and nuked out Sodom and shit and caused that evil wind to fuck up Samaria. You understand what I'm saying? Radiation and shit, man. So this is the war god, Ninurta, who's competing with Marduk, yeah? Because both of them want to have the most fucking prodigal son. You understand? So you got, it's not just Enlil and Enki, it's their whole fucking camp. So all the sons of Enlil versus all the sons of Enki and Enki. So this guy here was peak. He used to fly around in a black helicopter and he had a black fighter craft thing, which they called a black bird. And so he used to speak about this Ninurta, who they talk about as the champion. And his mum is Mother Ninti. Do you understand that? Mother Ninti is his mum, Ninursag. And then his other fucking, who's now with Enki. You see how fucked up this Anunnaki shit is? And then his brother, Nana Sin, is the son of Ninlil. Ninlil is an Anunnaki who was raped by fucking Enlil when he seen her naked, washing herself in one of them fucking baths or whatever. Nigga raped her and got reprimanded for it. This is how demonic this Enlil is and how screwed up his head is, psychopathic. And if you go and watch Young Elders live, everything what I've said to you guys, he's reiterating it and giving you more jewels on that shit there. So I wanted to put Ninurta in there. Do your own study of Ninurta. Yeah? Obviously as well, we went through all of them scriptures. There's a few more. The Akasha Records, the Enuma Elish, the Astrahasis, which is Noah, the Tablet of Anzu or Enzu, who cast the spell, Nergal and Erishkigal, yeah, Tammuz and Ishtar, the Descent of Ishtar, the Tablet of Itana, the Eagle Man, the Tablet of Adapa, the Gilgamesh Epics. Then obviously you got more stuff in the Bible, like the 12 great teachers, like Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah. I'm sure I got Joel's picture. Boom. It's not the best picture because my flash was on, so I kind of screwed up the picture, so we'll just skip past that. But you can see he's a black man anyway. I think we've already gone through all of that there. So,
the white supremacists said, I can't
finish
maintain
on
a
this
system with black people being serious. So I'm going to redirect their seriousness, and I'm going to do it through something that they relate to best. I'm going to do it through a medium that they can relate to, and that is entertainment. So I'm going to twist and turn their entertainment in such a way that where it was anti-non-justice before, where they were trying to talk about justice and head in that direction, I'm going to redirect that whole machine right before their eyes, and since they are a primitive people, they won't even realize what I'm doing, because it will all be fun, because I know how to package stuff that doesn't make sense so that it is fun. And I'll have them directing their entire existence to getting up in the morning and looking for something stupid to do. And they won't even know that they're looking for something stupid to do, because they're just that stupid, because I will have programmed them to be stupid. And from the late 1960s, after the death of Martin Luther King and the riots and the upheavals and all like this, and black people with their fist in the air and all like that, and trying to stumble and fumble and find their way and get focus, the white supremacists made a blueprint and put it into action. And that is, I'm going to have these people so confused, they don't even know what they started out to do. And by the late 1970s, they had just about completed it. And we've been on that ever since. And you mentioned something very important. They are more comfortable than ever. But see, it's like making gorillas comfortable in a cage, or monkeys, or pandas. You still got them in a cage, but they're comfortable. See, so give him some bling bling. It's like giving an animal a brand new car and training the animal to ride up and down the street in it. And then you stand back and point at the animal. Like one white man said in the late 1950s. He said he doesn't care what kind of car a Negro has. He said he's still a nigger. And when he rides by in a shiny car, to him, it's just a monkey in a car. White people built the car, put a monkey in it, trained the monkey to drive the car, so now you're looking at a monkey in a car. See, but black people don't see themselves that way. But this is how the white supremacists see us, and they are the ones who run our business. And we have to know that when they look at us, that's what they see. That's what they see. That's what they see. And at a subliminal level, what they see begins to spill over into our brains so that we, at a subliminal level, see each other that way. And indirectly see ourselves that way. And that's why, here it is in the year 2008, we have no problem slaughtering each other and think it's fun. You can hear the 9mm popping in the night even as we speak. That's black people out there having fun, because that's what we're doing. F-U-N, that's what that comes under. That's entertainment. Killing each other. That's fun. That's almost the definition of black fun. If we're not doing that, we're not really having fun. If we're not doing harm to each other, saying something derogatory, and really, the crown and jewel, killing another black person, we're not really living. And we don't even know that that's our culture. And the white supremacists have very carefully engineered it. Now, this is very important to know in order to solve our problems. Because you say, well, now, knowing that, Fuller, what's the solution? One is very simple. Black people shouldn't even be in contact with each other unless they're talking about something constructive. That means the cell phone should be dead silent most of the time. Because you listen to the average black conversation in this area of the world on a cell phone, and what do you hear? You don't hear anything that's necessary to be said.
Discussion. Yeah, without man to pray and worship and acknowledge them, these weren't no fucking gods. Ain't nobody praying to them on their planet. They had to come here and trick us to say they're gods. Now get down on your knees and worship me and feed me some fucking grapes and write down all these months and all these stars and warn the people about this and about that and tell them do this and tell them do that and bring me gold and bring... That's fucking God. Anything else, you've been deceived. I ain't here to deceive you guys. I'm giving you the full whack here. Do you understand? So without the subjects who honor and align to the rule of these gods, there ain't no gods. They're just Anunnakis. They're just beings who just came down here and fucked about with everything else. So man created God in their own image. God never created no fucking man. And God, and this God, this modern concept God, that was created in Germany. And it's Old English from the word God, yeah? G-U-D, Old English, God, yeah? Which is from Proto-Germanic, which is from Gudan. G-U-D-A-N, Gudan. Google this shit. So you see I'm not fucking leading you astray. I'm showing you where the receipts are, yeah? In Gothic, that gut or good, that becomes goop, G-U-P, goop, or goodis. That's Gothic, like French, Frankish and shit. And then you get in Old Norse, in the Viking language, good, where we get the word today. Oh, that's good, you know, G-O-O-D. They spell it G-U-D, good, good. That's how they say God in Old Norse, like them Vikings and shit. Good. Yeah, that's God, which they get from good or ot or what, which is really from Odin or Odan or Wotan. Yeah, in Old Saxon, they change the U to O. So good becomes God, G-O-D. Yeah, Old Saxon, Old Frisian, and Old Dutch. All of these are Germanic languages. This is a German word. Yeah, and the word Gott in Old High German, Gott, G-O-T. And notice when they gave us that Game of Thrones shit, they kept putting G-O-T, Gott, Gott, Gott. Because really subliminally, that's not saying Game of Thrones. That's saying God, God, God. So now you're seeing all these white people, God, got. All these white people, this house of the Lancasters, this house, Lannisters, Lannisters, this house, the Starks, this house, all fighting for power. Yeah, it's like a Norse god thing. Got. Yeah, they know what they're doing. But because we haven't studied, we ain't seeing through these subliminals. They're telling you about Wotan, which equals Odin, or Gotu, which comes from Gotu, and it means poured, from the root word Giu, which is a Greek word, Gheu, to pour a libation, to invoke, to call upon, yeah? And which is from the Greek Kain, which is Khein, to pour, yeah? It's a European new invention from the 16th century onwards, yeah? And it's from the reset BS, when we talk about their fall of Tartary and how they reset this thing with this fucked up word, God, yeah? The custodians did this shit. The demiurge, the Enlilites, the archons, demons, and they are the ones portraying themselves as gods in these books, telling you that women don't have no rights and to kill up animals, sacrifice and holy war and go and fight against these, and all these different gods can be beefing each other. Like it tells you in the Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Wall, sometimes they fight with each other. So like the god Yahweh, he's got beef with Allah. So Allah and Yahweh, Allah tells his Muslims, yo, them Jews is fucking hate you. Go and kill them niggas. Yeah? And Yahweh tells them, yo, fuck Allah, nigga. Fuck them Muslims. You gonna blow them niggas up and take their land. And then the fucking Theos, whatever other reptilian, tells the Christians and the Vatican, yo, fuck both them niggas. Fuck the Jews and fuck the Muslims. Nigga, we riding with you. Go over there and kill everything. That's how it's always been. Certain gods making their own fucking religion and their own kick the empire and going and infringing on the next fucking god and them squabbling and fighting over these fucking humans and the resources on earth and territories on earth. It's nothing else. And anybody who's into Christianity, they in a spell. They caught up in this fucking spell we're talking about. And anybody that trying to push Allah on you, they also caught up in this fucking spell. You understand? And anybody that trying to push this fucking Jehovah bullshit on you, they caught up in the fucking spell.
Yeah, man. So, yo, at COP27, guys, the Antichrist was crowned. All of that shit you seen them go to COP27 going on like they just discussing the climate and shit. Yeah? Even others think that it was about the carbon credits and whatnot. Let me tell you something. The Dajjal, the Antichrist, was fucking crowned, man, at COP27. What's about to come from January the 1st, yeah, 2023, yeah? Yo, with this fucking purge, this shit ain't gonna be no 1 year or no couple months in a lockdown. Nigga, this is the next 7 years going to 2030. We've been trying to tell a lot of you to pay attention to the work we're doing, because it's not for me, man. This is for us. These are our weapons for our mental liberation. Shout out to Rod Hayes at the forefront of this shit. Young Elder at the forefront of this shit. B. Dell. Shout out to the Phoenix, yeah? Shout out to all the light warriors all over the planet right now that are in the depth of battle. And to all y'all other niggas out there selling snake oil, fuck to you, man. For real. That's the end of the transmission. TZT, we signing out. Yeah.
Yo, other side of the pond. Broken kingdom, divided kingdom. Ice Olmecs over here, we got Black Saxons, Norsemen, Vikings, yo, the whole nine. We even got Roos up here, you know, going back to ancient times, bro. Black Saxons, Union Jack spread like a virus and resurrect this hip-hop shit, the rapper Cyrus. Himmerine, Genesis 6, call me your highness. It's Horus Clan, we spit from the book, not from the signers. Black Saxons, Union Jack spread like a virus and resurrect this hip-hop shit, the rapper Cyrus. Himmerine, Genesis 6, call me your highness. It's Horus Clan, we spit from the book, not from the signers. Food shortages, empty shelves, the main stores start rationing, prepare yourselves. I seen it coming from decades back, they never listen, emotionally react cause they blinded by religion. And this is Britain where surviving is a mission. Weak niggas fall over and get swallowed by the system. I know they hate it, but I remain the most anticipated. Simple and
Metropolis, they shitting they self down. Back the nominees, cause they act as fam. I remember my return 2010, over the wavy and oaks. Man, the scene was dead. Man, I remember if we met, put me an axe on the shed. On Yeoman Street, my first show, fresh in my head. Bare face from the cradle to grave. Doing videos with Chris Covert, TV shit straight from the grave. And I feels like smoking a maze. Selling drugs on Titchborn while we were smoking cheese and haze. AONP Studio and Black Legion. Dragon Slayers merged with them Black Hyenas in the region. And we put it down hard until they end up sabotage. Certain man didn't stand on their square and not on guard. And there's some man them in my gang and I hate that they gone. And there's some man them in my gang and I'm glad that they gone. Black Saxons, Union Jack spread like a virus. And resurrect this hip hop shit, the rapper Cyrus. Gibbering, Genesis 6, call me your highness. It's Horace Clan, we spit from the book, not from the sinus. Black Saxons, Union Jack spread like a virus. And resurrect this hip hop shit, the rapper Cyrus. Gibbering, Genesis 6, call me your highness. It's Horace Clan, we spit from the book, not from the sinus. I saw the birth of stars, heard the whispers of creation through the valley, yeah, the shadow of death. The situation for my people, they say all men will create equal. The golden solar cycle is here, call it the sequel. Ammon Ra judges trees by the fruits, not by the roots. Great minds think alike and combine into parachutes. And if I fall from the heights on my back, it's a parachute.